From Mario to Master Chief.
That game is awesome.
8-bit to high def.
Hadouken!
The battle is on.
It's one team trying to beat the other team.
Heroes versus assassins.
Finish him! Finish him!
Finish him!
Legends versus monsters.
She's the toughest bad guy in the game.
I gotta thank these little digital guys with the big hearts. Does it feel good to be a champion? Yeah.
Boom shakalaka!
We're counting down the top 100 video games of all time.
Cool. Mario Brothers is basically like a quest on acid.
Just last night, I was lost in the jungle with Pitfall Harry.
I love shooters.
Best game of all time's Mario Party.
Skyrim is a way of life.
Best game of all time.
That's the game we used to play a lot.
Portal is the best game on the planet.
I got really hooked on that game.
There's only one place to start, and that's at the very beginning of gaming. Number 100 on our countdown is Pong.
I played Pong. I'm old.
I can play Pong.
Really groundbreaking moment for gaming.
Pong is so simple, yet it was so immediately addictive to so many people.
It's amazing how much time you can spend playing a game that's like 3 pixels smashing into each other.
Pong was OG, black and white, beautiful.
Atari's Pong bounced into arcades in 1972 and initiated a seismic shift in entertainment through its sheer popularity.
Pong was one of those first video games that got people into the idea of how you could move something on the screen. For our ancestors in the ancient 20th century, it set the tone for an entire generation of video games.
Pong blew people's minds. Pong.
Man, the graphics still blow me away today. Just black background, white bar, white little ball, just going back and forth.
Do you remember the...
In 1974, Atari brought Pong from the arcade into people's homes.
Pong was the game that started all console games.
It was really the first game that people were playing in their homes. Like really, like, oh my God, video games can be in a home.
You thought it was going to be just a one-time thing. Like, we didn't know it was going to end up leading to all these other games. We just thought it was like, oh, this is cool.
Graphically simple, but simply addictive, Pong was the arcade classic that fueled many gamers' passion, birthed an entire industry, and started a revolution.
Everybody in the world knows what Pong is, and everybody in the world will still play Pong if they get the chance to play Pong. And that's what makes this game so great.
Up next is the game that taught us that za is in fact a real word. At number 99, Words with Friends.
Za is the abbreviation for pizza if it's 1980 and you're in the Breakfast Club.
Released in the summer of 2009 for mobile devices, Words with Friends has now been downloaded over 10 million times.
I'm playing Words with Friends.
Words with Friends is the best idea of taking something everyone plays like Scrabble and then just making it digital.
Words with Friends is an epic, bloody battle of Scrabble. No, it's not just Scrabble.
The sad truth for me about Words with Friends is I can't add anybody because I have so many active games already going. It's pathetic.
Oh, Words with Friends. Curse you, Words with Friends.
Yes, I am guilty of Words with Friends.
Ooh, you stole my wife.
Words with Friends is so addictive, Alec Baldwin got kicked off a plane for not shutting off his phone.
I only challenge people that I know I'm smarter than.
I tend to let people, think that I'm not very good, so they beat me a couple of times, and then I come back and hit them with the whammy.
The best is when you have nothing, your hands are empty, it's about to be over for you, and you just push a bunch of crap together and magically make a sandwich. That is my favorite kind of play in Words with Friends.
Words with Friends is a cultural phenomenon and one of the best games of all time. In fact, you're probably playing Words with Friends right now.
I just hit you with jukebox. How about that? You hear that music playing? Yeah, that's me whooping your ass.
Next on our countdown, If you played the Atari 2600, you recognize this sound.
Oh my God, Pitfall.
Pitfall was awesome.
Yep, swinging into the number 98 spot, Pitfall.
Strange fun fact, my first paid gig for acting was a commercial for a Pitfall. I had a safari hat on. I was like, just last night I was lost in the jungle with Pitfall Harry.
Pitfall hit the Atari 2600 in 1982 and was an instant smash.
Love Pitfall. Pitfall is incredible.
I remember as a kid just being like, oh my God, this is what this is all about.
It's right when home video games started creating people out of like 4 squares.
I'm a stick guy, and you can see that I have a green shirt and brown pants and shoes.
These 8-bit blocks had us all duped in the 80s to thinking that we were Indiana Jones.
The Indiana Jones-esque Pitfall Harry had to negotiate caverns, chasms, scorpions, snakes, and those damn alligators.
It took me months to realize, oh, I can jump on the crocodile's heads.
It was the adventure. It was amazing.
Loved grabbing the rope and swinging over and be like, da-na-na-na-na-na-na.
It is the same screen 100 times. And yet, all they had to do to make it different for us was put an alligator, or a vine, or a bar of gold. We were easily entertained in the 80s.
I would play that game for hours.
Next, the game that's hailed as the best basketball game ever, and the finest sports game of its generation. At number 97, NBA 2K11.
To the bucket.
NBA 2K11 is my game.
NBA 2K11, a classic. This is one of the most realistic basketball games.
The NBA 2K series is probably my favorite video game series of all time.
NBA 2K11 is like the coolest game, the coolest basketball game ever.
Over Allen. Yes!
2K11 gave basketball fans and sport game lovers alike the action, interactivity, and attention to detail that they crave.
They graphics, and they just make the game real.
The design and the game flow, the graphics, the movements into dunks, the crossover dribbles, it's all so seamless.
You know, that's when everybody had their custom shots. You had Rondo with the fake behind the back passes. I mean, you got Dirk Nowitzki, you got fade away. You know, Kevin Durant got the dribble, shimmy, shake, pulling out.
NBA 2K is so realistic, like, I couldn't keep Yao on the court for more than 2 games in a row.
Jordan may have been on the cover, but 2K11 fans knew who to play as if you wanted to dominate the game.
Cheating with LeBron. It ain't really cheating because he on the game, so he on the game like everybody else, so I like playing with Miami Heat. You call it having LeBron James on your team cheating? Like, that's crazy. I mean, he's a real, you know, that's what he do in real life.
But I don't think nobody tops LeBron on that game. You know, they said 99, but he played like 199. Like, there was nothing he couldn't do. He catch fire, he hit everything.
You can't worry about what LeBron is doing or worry about they blowing out. You play your game. That's what wins.
Regardless who you choose to play as, NBA 2K11 provides fans with unforgettable basketball action.
I beat Justin Bieber on that game. I beat Sean Kingston on that game. All of my friends, I beat them. NBA 2K11 is a classic.
Coming up next,
I don't know how the hell they were warped back to the top.
we warp back in time to blast away at the arcade.
Everyone loved Galaga.
And take the controls of a game that made you actually root for the Empire.
I don't think anybody expected that, and that's what made the game awesome.
Plus, the blockbuster that taught you how to shred like a rock god.
Now you're unbelievable at that. You're better than Slash at his own song.
But first, what artist has the most songs in Guitar Hero 1 and 2? The answer after the break. Before the break, we asked what artist has the most songs in Guitar Hero 1 and 2. The answer? Ozzy Osbourne. 1 as a solo artist, 2 with Black Sabbath. And now a video game that pulled off the impossible by making air guitar even more awesome. Jamming in at number 96, it's the hard-rocking encore, Guitar Hero 2.
Well, 2 was the one that I played that got me turned on to Guitar Hero in the first place. And I'd be playing for like hours and hours on end.
I'd be up at like 5 in the morning, like just one more game, just one more attempt at Freebird on difficult level.
Released in 2006, Guitar Hero 2 improved on the original, making virtual guitarists feel more than ever like real-life rock stars.
The wide appeal of Guitar Hero is that not all of us can play guitar. Like, that is hard. But you got 4 or 5 buttons. All right, I can handle this. I feel like a G now. I'm rocking out.
You've probably seen all your friends in this position, blue, green, red.
I like to play Guitar Hero in my underwear. Basically, it's the best way to go. Like, it's really hot when you're, on the axe.
I'm all about the music, so I would like to get every note right and make sure I use the whammy at applicable times.
Well, that makes everybody feel like they have rhythm. And I love that because I'm one of the few black people without it. So, it helps me get back to my roots.
I never dreamed of being a professional maracaist, but rock god with a guitar. And like the second you turn it like this, like you just knew that it was going to be a huge, huge thing.
A smash hit that managed to outsell its successful predecessor, Guitar Hero 2 exposed a new generation of fans to the lost art of hard rock.
It's kind of introduced our music to a whole nother, probably a much younger generation. Actually a generation that forgot there was even guitar solos.
And what's really interesting about Guitar Hero is the way it breaks the music down and sort of forces people to appreciate why it's so cool.
As far as I'm concerned, that game's about like the coolest thing to happen to guitar since Father Van Halen played Eruption. You never know, out of that game you're gonna get your next Hendrix.
I pretend to be Jimi Hendrix, just out there like this with my bandana, getting it.
Well, now you're unbelievable at that. You're better than Slash at his own song.
I can shred, just on the Guitar Hero, not real life. Not real life.
I think it's great. You know what, man? The guitar is the coolest instrument in the world.
Our next game is as patently ridiculous as it is endlessly fun to play. At number 95, it's the video game that made fast food fun. What time is it? It's burger time.
Burger time.
Burger time.
Burger Time landed in arcades in 1982 and was an instant hit.
Burger Time is a game where you're a chef and you're running around making a giant burger for some sort of giant person, I imagine.
Like the bun would come down first, and then the lettuce would come down, and then the meat would come down, and the cheese would come down.
You have to get the ingredients to fall down in the correct order while there are evil things chasing you.
Mr. Pickle, Mr. Hot Dog, and Mr. Egg are always on Chef Peter's buns, and his only means of defense, a light sprinkling of pepper.
There's something really interesting and bizarre about walking across the top of a bun, like a giant bun, and then forming a giant hamburger and being chased by like those hot dogs with legs, and you would throw pepper on them and inevitably run out of pepper.
I think a whole generation of people actually went into the food service industry because of games like Burger Time. When I was a kid, I was like, oh yeah, that's how they make burgers. I'd never seen anybody make a burger. I was like, okay, so they have a little person who runs around and makes me this burger. Pretty good.
Was that game for McDonald's employees? Basically, just to get you to figure out how to make a burger.
It was an early training program.
I think so.
Burger Time, I would play it, but then I just hated it because it just made me hungry all the time. It was a good game.
And now for a game that allowed players to reverse time itself, resulting in a truly trippy experience.
You'd be like, oh, I'm gonna die.
At number 94, the time-shifting, mind-melting adventure that is Braid.
It's a mental exercise like no other. I mean, it really pushes the boundaries of what they did on Xbox Live.
A combination platformer and puzzle game, Braid jumped onto the Xbox Live in 2008, and though it may seem straightforward at first,
If you screwed up, if you died, you could go back in time and just do it again. And you learn from your mistakes, and they just let you do it kind of over and over backwards until you finally got to the end result.
I sucked your ass out, bitch!
I actually did like a YouTube video, and it got like crazy millions of views, and all my fans in the gamer boards, they were all talking about, did you see the Soulja Boy Brave video? It was hilarious to me, just rewinding time and jumping off of cliffs and rewinding myself back up the cliff. And the further I made it into the game, the more I liked about each innovation of it.
Braid's time-bending mechanic opened people's minds to downloadable games and helped make it the highest-rated Xbox Live game of all time.
You have to think so hard of how you're going to play the game because you don't know how time is going to move. But once you've figured all that out, you realize that you've been sitting there playing the game for 3 days. So time in real life has also gotten out of control.
You can rewind time, you can fast forward time, like you can do all these different things. But at the end of the day, you're chasing after a princess. And you get to the princess, she runs away, and then you find out the reason she runs away is because you're the creepy-ass dude that she was running from. And what guy can't relate to that, right? And imagine if you're a female gamer, you look at this game and you go, that's what college was like for me.
Braid did more than just tease our brains. It twisted time, perception, and expectations, resulting in a heady trip for gamers.
I think it's one of the best video games because it's the most innovative. That's what I think.
Our next game takes you to a galaxy far, far away.
Destroy everything. Take no prisoners.
At number 93 on our countdown, embrace the dark side and step inside the cockpit of Star Wars TIE Fighter. Until LucasArts' 1994 PC masterpiece TIE Fighter, no Star Wars game ever allowed you to assume the role of the villainous Galactic Empire.
The Empire is on the verge of success.
Star Wars TIE Fighter is cool because you didn't have to play as the good guy. You can play as the bad guy, and I don't think anybody expected that, and that's what made the game awesome.
I love TIE Fighter because TIE Fighter told the whole story from the Empire's point of view. And you felt really noble joining the Empire and bringing peace and order to the galaxy.
It actually made you feel proud to fly a ship for the Empire. You actually have that twisted point of view, which is really fun.
When you're watching the movie, you never really get into the mind of a TIE fighter pilot. In the game, though, that's a whole other part of the Star Wars world that you're privy to. So that was really groundbreaking.
This is Maiden 1. Target destroyed.
Star Wars TIE Fighter isn't just an innovative story. It's one of the best spaceflight simulators ever developed.
And when you were flying the TIE Fighters, they felt like the TIE Fighters in the movie. They were like, really light and kind of almost nervous flying them around, weak but agile. And so like one hit and you'd blow up. But yet they were really hard to hit, So I think you did a really good job of taking kind of the feeling of the TIE Fighters from the movie and translating it into basically kind of a space flight simulator.
Thanks to Star Wars TIE Fighter, being bad was never so much fun.
I bet a lot of kids played this game and probably had like a newfound respect and maybe a little bit more of an understanding as to why the Empire wanted to blow up entire planets.
Coming up next, the survival horror classics that taught you not to startle the witch.
What the Gary? And then everybody's dead because Gary made a sound.
And to stay away from Silent Hill.
I just couldn't stop playing that game, and I'm all up from it.
Plus the PC blockbuster that let you play house.
Or you could just lock everybody in the house and delete the doors and set it on fire.
We used to do that too.
But first, what musical group members are featured as characters in The Sims? The answer when the top 100 video games of all time returns. What musical group is featured as characters in The Sims? The answer? Fergie, will.i.am, and the Black Eyed Peas. And now an arcade classic with all the right moves. At number 92, it's the finger-tapping classic, Galaga.
First of all, bees. I am not a fan of bees, so this made me really happy to shoot space bees out of the sky.
Galaga was unleashed to arcades in 1981. The gameplay was familiar to fans of Space Invaders, but unlike its predecessor, the baddies in Galaga were bee-like creatures that zipped and swarmed at you with dizzying precision.
Galaga's like the next level of Space Invaders. It's still Space Invaders, but they're a lot more aggressive. You know what I mean? They're coming down to you. They will fly. They will come come down and get your ass. Then they go past you and they come back up. I don't know how the hell they will warp back to the top. They go past you and end up back at the top again. What the hell is that?
Galaga was the first cause of carpal tunnel syndrome because you got the joystick in one hand, the other hand, you got to hit it for every bullet. You got a permanent hook. You're like an old lady in an arcade, begging for quarters from strangers.
I feel like Galaga was the game that kind of introduced us to the concept of the challenge stage, where you would get like 5 stages and you get the crazy challenge stage.
That weird, like, manta ray, space manta ray thing, shoot down the force field, and you'd be like, oh, that'll capture me, and it'd capture you.
You allow yourself to take your own ship hostage, and then you have to free yourself and get the double guns.
Not only did Galaga introduce features that gamers had never seen before, it was a massive success.
Everyone loved Galaga.
Next, they're putting their lives in your hands. At number 91, it's The Sims.
The Sims, man, let me tell you about The Sims.
The Sims definitely feeds into my God complex.
There's something about The Sims. Maybe it's the fact that, you know, you're controlling another human being, which I think secretly we all wish we could do.
Oh, voila.
SimCity mastermind Will Wright unveiled his people-centric follow-up The Sims in 2000, unleashing an addictive, one-of-a-kind life simulation game.
When I first started on The Sims, I wanted to do kind of for architecture what SimCity was doing for city planning. The people really were meant to originally be the scoring system. It ended up being a strategy game that everybody could relate to. Everybody was playing this game already in their life. This was just kind of abstracting it into, you know, kind of a strategic level.
I'm a little embarrassed that I love The Sims so much because it is basically playing house.
I got a kick out of like having the guy and the girl flirt and then get married and all that stuff. Like, it was a big accomplishment.
But you gotta have a job, you gotta make some money, you know, you can expand your house, you can add plants and TVs and couches, and
or you can just lock everybody in the house and delete the doors and set it on fire.
We used to do that too.
The freedom to play house, play God, and play with life and death helped The Sims become the top-selling PC title of all time.
You start becoming addicted to this game. You know, you don't work, you don't sleep, you don't eat, you know, you wait too long to go to the bathroom. Also that you can play this game where you work, sleep, eat, and go to the bathroom.
You know, The Sims is a dope game.
Next, the game that shaped the fantasy RPGs we play today. At number 90, Baldur's Gate 2, Shadows of
Baldur's Gate 2 was really the first video game that captured that flavor of Dungeons & Dragons.
When Baldur's Gate 2 was released for the PC in September of 2000, it set the bar for fantasy role-playing games with a narrative that immersed gamers in the world of Dungeons & Dragons' Forgotten Realms.
You are a smart one!
Baldur's Gate 2, story was great on that one. Yeah, really great.
I'm an explorer who likes to have a story to go along with what I'm exploring. Baldur's Gate really gave me that.
Yes, it is done.
Baldur's Gate 2 not only dropped you into the world of the Forgotten Realms, it allowed you to explore with friends online.
The dungeons, everything you do, it's very much like Dungeons & Dragons. And really being able to go into that fantasy world, only without the guy with the mouthpiece drooling into the cup, which makes it perfect.
And now for a game that drags survival horror to intense new places.
Shotgun in the face always drops a zombie.
At number 89, Left 4 Dead.
I'm a huge zombie fanatic, and Left 4 Dead got me really excited.
Really fun, very satisfying game.
It's seamless, it's fast-paced.
Left 4 Dead made me want the zombie apocalypse to happen.
When it dropped in 2008, Valve's Left 4 Dead kept gamers running for their lives thanks to an incredibly sophisticated and vicious AI.
What's amazing about Left 4 Dead is that they have a director who sort of watches you, and if he thinks things are going too easy, he throws new zombies at you. So it's completely unpredictable.
The spawn points of your enemies changed every time you played.
So it would create a completely different experience for the player.
And like any great survival horror game, Left 4 Dead boasted a rogues gallery of repulsive bad guys.
They have like different kinds of zombies. So there's like a zombie that spits at you, a zombie that grabs you with its tongue.
And then the witch, don't wake the witch.
She looks like RuPaul on crack.
You have to sneak by her. If you make a sound, she wakes up, and she's the toughest bad guy in the game. Just go over this. Gary, don't. There's a witch there. Okay, you just... What the Gary? And then everybody's dead.
For me, the fun of it is playing multiplayer. So you play with your friends, you have people freaking out, you go up against that giant fat zombie. Being on that earpiece and hearing other people scream because they're freaking out, that's pretty fun. And then you scream and you hope it's on mute, but it's not.
While I'm playing online, I'm also talking trash.
Watch out! Run!
And every now and then I'll get into a fight with somebody that's supposed to be on my team. And it's like, hey, don't steal that gun. Fine. You stole that gun? Fine. If you die, I'm not reviving you. You're done.
You have an adventure together. Like, the multiplayer really makes Left 4 Dead fun. It's like going through a haunted house, you know. And that horror element to it really adds something that you don't get from other games. So good choice there.
Coming up, we hit the hardwood with an NES classic.
Double Dribble, best technology ever.
Drop into the middle of a massive sci-fi trilogy.
It's a heavy game.
And take a trip down memory lane with Outrun.
Don't drive your car into things at 100 miles an hour. If you have a Ferrari, you'll die.
But first, what was the first video game to be blasted into Earth's orbit? The answer when the Top 100 Video Games returns. Before the break, we asked what was the first video game to be blasted into Earth's orbit? The answer? StarCraft was launched into space aboard the Space Shuttle Discovery in 1999. Next, one of the most memorable sports games for the original NES. At number 88, it's
Double Dribble. It was, at the time, Double Dribble, best technology ever.
I mean, every kid I knew that played basketball wanted to have Double Dribble at their house.
Released to arcades in 1986 and ported to the original Nintendo the following year, Konami's Double Dribble was one of the early games to use cutscenes and actual speech.
Double Dribble.
And it had that saying, double dribble, like when you started the game, so it was kind of like, oh my god, they're talking.
I remember every time cutting it on, double dribble.
Double Dribble.
Double dribble.
Double Dribble.
Double dribble.
Double Dribble.
The guy had a speech impediment, but it was awesome.
Although the game lacked the participation of the NBA, resulting in teams like the Boston Frogs, in Double Dribble, the hoops action was all pro.
But I was good in that game because I knew the sweet spots.
If you could just hit that spot, man, right there in the corner of that three-point line.
And you could shoot threes all day long. You'd never miss.
I mean, if you knew that and your friend didn't, you were going to dominate your friends in that game.
Every three-pointer had an explosion. When you shoot the ball, it goes...
I think they borrowed the soundage from like a war game because it was like... And then when it hit the goal, it went...
Next up, it's the Empire Strikes Back of gaming's greatest sci-fi adventure.
The pinnacle of the space saga.
It's a heavy game.
At number 87 on our countdown, it's Mass Effect 2. Released in 2010 to universal acclaim, Mass Effect 2 is a sprawling action role-playing hybrid that drops you into the middle of an intergalactic war.
In 5 minutes of starting that game, something so crazy and epic happens that you're just like, what the hell?
You travel around space. You're basically a guy that's trying to save the universe from this race of creatures called the Reapers.
I thought they did a really great job of the story, of being able to go in and pick different missions and finding the characters and learning their backstory, and that every character just wasn't an NPC. It actually had a history, and you kind of knew what was going on in their lives, and it kind of made you more attached to them, and so you actually cared about them when you went on the suicide mission.
I will join Shepard to save the humans.
It's so great because not only are you doing this awesome third-person shooter and the weapons are amazing and the biotic powers are amazing, you get to like warp people and throw them through the air, you get to tear them apart at like the molecular level, or you can just shoot them in the head with a sniper rifle.
Where Mass Effect 2 really shined was in its implementation of player choice and how those decisions affected the game world at large.
The cool, awesome thing about it is the whole time you're going through, you get to choose whether you want to be good or bad. You can finish the game either way, but based on your choices, it then gives you different scenarios as you're going through the game. Different characters can die, different characters get loyalty to you.
But Mass Effect 2 let you choose more than just whether your friends would live or die. It let you choose which of your friends you'd get to love.
The whole dating sim part of Mass Effect I thought was really funny, you know, and so being able to play into that and trying to woo particular women along the way. And
I'm a total, Valentino on Mass Effect 2.
The ability to create a personalized adventure through a myriad of gut-wrenching choices helped Mass Effect 2 earn 2010's Game of the Year award and a place on the top 100.
I've made some terrible, terrible choices in that game and have suffered for it. But that's what makes me like the game.
And now for the driving game that taught you why seatbelts are essential. And that blondes like Ferraris. At number 86, Outrun.
Super fast speed, Ferrari, blonde, driving, craziness.
Outrun, the game that made everyone want a Ferrari with a hot blonde in it.
Outrun first let you get behind the wheel of a Ferrari when it hit arcades in 1986.
They realized, like, oh, we can just put a steering wheel on there. And then you actually got to drive the car.
The case had the red car, and the girl was in there with you. So it was like you were this guy with a Hawaiian shirt or something next to this beautiful girl just driving down California. And you had the pedal at the actual like stand-up machine, which was awesome.
That was the first game where you actually had a stick shift.
Outrun also has one of the most memorable crash animations in gaming history.
Don't drive your car into things at 100 miles an hour. If you have a Ferrari, you'll die. You don't just get an extra life. It's just, you just get the one in life.
And now for a game that was responsible for plenty of vivid nightmares. At number 85, it's the survival horror masterpiece, Silent Hill 2.
It was so scary. It was a terrifying, terrifying game.
Silent Hill 2 was one of those games that I loved because it just gave you the creeps.
I've never been so scared in my whole life.
Silent Hill, pretty neat. I think it's pretty neat.
And I thought it'd be a good idea to play this game at night, alone. I didn't sleep for a week.
My sons, I'll see them next day and I'm like, man, I couldn't sleep, dude. I was up all night. I just couldn't stop playing that game and I'm all up from it.
Released in 2001, Silent Hill 2 forces players to maneuver through heavy fog while keeping a watchful eye out for creatures just waiting to leap from the darkness.
I love the atmosphere of the game. It had this really moody, kind of misty vibe about it.
The fog would roll in and it looked like actual real fog. Akira Yamaoka's soundtrack would kick in and it's like, goosh, goosh, goosh. You're like, oh my God, I'm just gonna get murdered.
Just the sound design is horrifying. Wind becomes your enemy. All you hear is like that the whole time, and then a creature just comes out of the mist and attacks you.
Creepy visuals, a haunting score, and dreadful silence, Silent Hill 2 is an immersive study in psychological horror.
I'll kill him! Just like that.
I didn't play that game with lights off.
Coming up next, the games that turn Mila Jovovich into a zombie killer,
Big sister is like the girl from Resident Evil.
Grandma into a gamer,
it revolutionized kind of what family gaming is.
And thousands of kids into ninjas.
What 10-year-old doesn't want to play a game where you've got throwing stars?
But first, who was the first video game character with a wax replica at Madame Tussauds? The answer when we return. Before the break, we asked, who was the first video game character with a wax replica at Madame Tussauds? The answer? Halo's Spartan hero, Master Chief. Next on the countdown, the game that made bowling safe for grandma, if not always for your TV. At number 84, Wii Sports.
It was great. I mean, it revolutionized kind of what family gaming is. My grandma played Wii Sports, which was amazing. A lot of laughs, a lot of fun.
Bundled with the Nintendo Wii upon the console's release in 2006, Wii Sports exploded on the gaming scene.
It's great. Like, changed the way we play video games. All of a sudden, you're standing up, moving around. Amazing.
Wii Sports not only revolutionized gaming, it helped Nintendo sell almost 100 million Wiis.
It's like the world's greatest tech demo for the Wii. They found a way to expose people to, at the time, this incredibly new technology, but they wrapped that tutorial in a game that is so much fun to play with your friends that it became one of the top 100 games of all time.
And now the best ninja game ever created. At number 83 on our countdown, Ninja Gaiden.
It's just the best ninja game ever.
I learned how to run along the walls and do a bunch of backflips.
What 10-year-old doesn't want to play a game where you've got throwing stars?
I'll be pronouncing it wrong. I thought it was Ninja Gaiden, but Ninja Gaiden, it's like one of my favorite video games.
No matter how you pronounce it, the 2004 Xbox Classic is one of the most difficult games you will ever play.
Can't use this, but that game.
Ninja Gaiden is one of the hardest games I've ever played.
I tried normal, and normal kicked my ass. Like, just not even, like, politely. Just straight up. Just no apologies.
They get you up to speed, they show you how to walk around, and then they throw you in with the boss immediately.
I'm talking like I'm 10, 12 times trying to fight this boss. And when you finally figure it out, you just about to finish, what do they go? Can't kill me, I'm your trainer. And you're like, come on.
Hard as that's pretty much sums it up.
We played a game this season at Baylor called Super Smash Bros. So shout out to my guys at Baylor.
At number 82, it's the frenetic four-person fighting sensation, Super Smash Bros. Melee.
It was this epic battle of everyone that you love.
The follow-up to the original Super Smash Bros., Melee hit the GameCube in 2001 and featured Nintendo's Titans battling it out in one arena.
Why I was so amped when they made Super Smash Brothers, because they put all of these characters in the same game. It's like you just get to pick whoever you want to fight against each other.
So it's like all the main characters, Yoshi, Mario, Samus, all different characters from all the big games back then.
I was always Donkey Kong because he could always beat the out of Mario. Can I say
Super Smash Bros. Melee punched, kicked, and shot all the way to the top and became the GameCube's best-selling game of all time.
It fulfilled my urge to beat the living bejesus out of Mario. Oh God, so satisfying. Just total e-slap.
Next on our countdown, the survival horror original. At number 81, Resident Evil.
Hurry! This way! Resident Evil changed video games for me.
That was probably one of the first games where I was like you would jump when you played it. Like, it was scary, you know?
Resident Evil hit the PlayStation in 1996, launching one of the most enduring series in gaming history.
Resident Evil is set in this huge mansion designed by the world's worst architect. Because the door is locked, but to unlock it, you have to play the Moonlight Sonata on the piano. The person living there must be like, can't we just use regular keys for these?
I'm always scared that something's gonna be around the door. You know, every door there's about 30 zombies ready to chase you, jump through windows.
It was definitely a series which brought horror to the forefront of games. They did a really good job, I think, of demonstrating how horror could work.
25 minutes into the game is one of the biggest scares of any game in history.
when you're inside that house and you're walking down the hallway. Dogs! Dogs! Crazy psycho zombie dogs! I'm not kidding you. To this day, I have never been so scared of anything in my life.
Anybody who says they didn't jump at that is a liar.
Resident Evil and its wild assortment of zombie dogs, deadly birds, and massively mutated bad guys earned the game a loyal following and a big screen adaptation.
How I knew about it was because of my little brother, who was a huge Resident Evil fan, so we would play it together all the time. And then when I heard they were making the movie, I was like, wow. You know, my little brother, I like win major points. You know, my big sister is like the girl from Resident Evil.
Resident Evil has made millions of dollars in movies and sequels, but it's the memories it made in the minds of terrified gamers that earned its spot on the top 100.
The original Resident Evil was the first game that made me and my best friend keep the lights on overnight.
Coming up on the top 100 video games of all time.
If I can't knock you out and hurt you, then I don't want to play.
The gloves come off and the punches start to fly.
It's like playing with two Patrick Swayzes from Roadhouse.
As we jump closer to the #1 spot in the countdown.
Pop quiz. Who is the best boss ever to kill in the entire history of video games? Mecha Hitler. Go.
Will your favorite survive the cut?
Kratos must be a real bummer at parties.
Or will their number be up?
Finish him.
When the top 100 video games of all time continues.
Here we go again!
That gotta be like one of the best video games like ever.
From Mario to Master Chief.
That game is awesome.
8-bit to high def. The battle is on.
It's one team trying to beat the other team.
Heroes versus assassins.
Finish him! Finish him!
Finish him!
Legends versus monsters.
She's the toughest bad guy in the game.
Boom shakalaka!
We're counting down the top 100 video games of all time.
Cool. Mario Brothers is basically like a quest on acid.
Just last night, I was lost in the jungle with Pitfall Harry.
I love shooters.
Best game of all time's Mario Party.
Skyrim is a way of life.
Best game of all time.
But that's a game we used to play a lot.
Portal is the best game on the planet.
I got really hooked on that game.
Grab your Lancer, duck behind some cover, and prepare for number 80 on our countdown, Gears of War 3.
Here we go again!
Gears of War 3, man, is like my favorite video game.
Released in 2011, Gears of War 3 brought fans bigger battles, better multiplayer action, and an explosive conclusion to the epic story of Marcus Phoenix and his ongoing battle against the vile Locust Horde.
We really swooped in with an amazingly well-polished game that had the best of both worlds from the first and second game.
We knew this was the end of the trilogy. This was the end of Marcus's story, and it had to be the best one ever. And basically, Gears 3 is 4 games in one game, with the campaign is huge, Horde is huge, Beast is huge, competitive multiplayer is huge.
I feel like I'm a beast. Like, I feel like, you know, there's no competition. I could hold my own against anybody in the game when I'm online.
My husband and I play together. To do a lot of shooting him in the face and then acting like I didn't know it was him, which is really hard to do after like the 100th time you've assassinated your husband, to be like, oh my God, is that you, honey? I didn't realize that. I'm so sorry.
The Horde mode in Gears 3 is insane. It's addictive. I start playing at 7 o'clock at night, and the next thing I know, the sun's coming up.
Intense action has always been a staple of the Gears franchise. But what really set Gears of War 3 apart was its moving storyline.
We did a really good job of blending kind of seamless cinematic gameplay with really, really good storytelling. That kind of culminates in the death of a key character about halfway through the game, which a lot of gamers really have told us that has brought them to tears.
Dom's death. I sat in silence for 4 minutes. We paused it. We couldn't do anything else. It was so well done. The acting, the writing.
I was literally crying. It's that good.
And we tried to make something that everyone can connect with. And so I think that's one of the strengths of Gears of War, is that it has characters that people can relate to.
Dom dies. Bleep that. I was sad. We were pissed. We had to drink after that. We had to pour out a 40 for our homie.
Gears of War 3 improved on 2 already incredible games to create a bullet-riddled masterpiece that we'll be playing for years to come.
Gears of War 3 will always have a special place in my heart.
There are so many huge releases every year, yet Gears 3 has been in my Xbox 360 every day since it dropped, and there's something to be said about that.
Next up, a trippy psychology lesson disguised as a video game. At number 79, Psychonauts.
Psychonauts. Blew my mind.
You are all psychic soldiers.
The brainchild of devious game designer Tim Schafer, Psychonauts hit consoles in 2005. Part platform game, part mind-bending adventure, the game's plot concerned, well, let's have Jack explain.
You're this kid
My name
Starts with a D.
is Rasputin.
who goes to this psychic camp for kids to develop their psychic powers. The adventure takes place in different people's minds and psyches, and you gotta like figure out their psychological damage to conquer the game. It's pretty groundbreaking and creative.
This is so cool.
I took a class on dreams, and people, when they have dreams, they take their lives' problems and turn them into these crazy, real, literal, like, monsters that you fight in your head. So we could do anything we want in that game. We could go anywhere.
Area attack!
There's a level in the game that's a meat circus. It's a circus, and it's meat. It doesn't actually make any sense, but it's amazing because it's that surreal nature of it.
Psychonauts was critically lauded upon release and attracted a cultishly devoted fan base, even if the game was viewed as a commercial flop.
It is one of the best games I ever played. It should have gotten more attention than it ever got. Obviously, it made your list, so there's something to be said here.
Is this your list of top 100 games that were canceled? Because I don't know how many games on this list were canceled, but that game was canceled. And it came back from the dead, and it is still here on this list. We're still talking about it, so take that, universe.
Up next, an arcade classic that combines fast driving, quick reflexes, and some very satisfying road rage.
It was James Bond, but they couldn't say it was James Bond.
At number 78, Spy Hunter.
Spy Hunter.
Awesome game.
The early 80s saw a glut of driving and racing games, but there had never been one that also let you shoot at stuff.
What's great about Spy Hunter is that it, rather than just being a generic driving game, it actually gave your car a character.
Spy Hunter was the game that everyone wanted to play just so they could feel like they were in Knight Rider.
Spy Hunter put players behind the wheel of the kick-ass G6155 Interceptor, which got some deadly upgrades every time they could hitch a ride on one of these trucks.
The main payoff of the game is the truck comes, you drive in the truck.
I remember constantly looking for that stupid van to drive into, and I think you got a smoke screen or oil slick, whatever, when you ever went into that van.
You know, their cars are coming up, you're like, oil slick, son. You know? Messed up.
But getting on the truck got you more than an awesome upgrade. It gave players a chance to hear a spy classic. Cool music, slick weapons, and a great release for lots of pent-up road rage made Spy Hunter one of everyone's top games.
Shooting the guys, Spy Hunter, I could play that all day.
Next, a classic motocross game for the NES that still sets hearts racing.
Excite Bike on Nintendo. Old school, where you get to make your own tracks and all of that. I'll take it all the way back to '86.
At number 77, it's Excite Bike, one of the original games available upon Nintendo's American release.
That's it right there, Excite Bike. That's the original video game that beats all video games.
Excite Bike was neat because it made me want to get into motocross.
It inspired the average bow-legged biker like myself to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to jump our Ford Festiva.
Simple in design but extremely rewarding, Excite Bike offered a revolutionary feature, the ability to custom design your own tracks.
I think a lot of people forget how far outside the box that was back then, to let you take control and kind of build your own level. If you wanted to really make a time trial track that you wanted all your friends to come over and try and you couldn't wait for them to get there, that's what Excite Bike did.
I think for me what made this game so much fun was the sound design. If you play the motorcycle sound in Excite Bike, to anybody my age, they can immediately tell you what video game that came from.
A simple yet unforgettable classic, Excite Bike laid the groundwork for every Nintendo racing game that came after it, and exposed gamers everywhere to a new world of virtual speed. Coming up next, the fight for the top spot continues.
Oh, I totally play Just to Fight.
And no one's playing nice.
Oh my god, that knee punch.
Will your favorite game live to see the next round?
This is pretty much the freaking coolest thing you could ever imagine.
But first, before Peter Gunn, what was the original song used in Spy Hunter? The answer after the break. Before the break, we asked what was the original song used in Spy Hunter before Peter Gunn? The answer? The James Bond theme by Monty Norman. It's time to throw down on the ice. At number 76, Blades of Steel. Blades of Steel was an arcade hit, ported to the original NES in 1988. And while it lacked an official NHL license, Blades of Steel still satisfied with liberal amounts of what every hardcore hockey fan clamors for.
Hands down, the best sports video game of all time, Blades of Steel. Why? One reason, fighting.
Oh, I totally play Just to Fight.
If I can't knock you out and hurt you, then I don't want to play.
Or if you got into a fight with another player and you lost the fight, then you ended up in the penalty box. When does the loser also then get penalized unless it's communism?
Blades of Steel is pulling no punches when it comes to what makes this NES classic one of the best sports games of all time.
Hockey players getting concussions, that's a sports game. Forget everything else.
And now, a post-apocalyptic epic that nuked gamers' idea of what an RPG could be. At number 75, Fallout 3.
That game is awesome. It also made me prepare like a really well-stocked Armageddon kit.
Released in 2008, Fallout 3 dropped gamers into the middle of a post-nuclear Washington, D.C. and a fight for survival.
You renegade and you find yourself out in the Earth that has been destroyed by this nuclear disaster. And it's all about kind of interacting with the locals that live out there.
Outsider, you have arrived. Please come closer.
So you're like fighting people in the middle of the desert. You know, you're fighting these giant mutant brutes. I got into some weird cult where there's like a tree god who's like, please kill me.
Wave bye-bye, Bob.
You've got this whole world open to you. And you're like a kid in the candy store. You just want to run around and try everything at once.
I killed the ant lady. And I wore her ant head for a while after I killed her.
The open world of Fallout 3 was so enormous, it took players hundreds of hours to explore it all.
I think at the end probably might have pushed, like, it might have been pushing towards 300 hours of Fallout 3 that I played.
I set challenges for myself to collect every single outfit that there was in the wasteland. So in my house I had closets of different clothing, which why would I do that?
That was the one game that almost like did me in. My girlfriend's like, go to sleep. It's like 3, I will. At 3 in the morning, cuts it like 8 in the morning. I have to be at work at like 10. I'm like, Still playing it.
That's what I like the most about it. Really fun. Hours and hours and hours of fun.
Fallout 3 mashed together RPG conventions, an enormous open world, and the frenetic gameplay of a shooter to create one of the best games of all time.
It has literally excels in every single area, from the storytelling, from the depth, from the amount of characters and experience that you have. It's really the type of game that you spend days and days and days exploring. Fallout 3 is one of my all-time favorites.
Next, a game that transformed a Nintendo character into a video game icon. At number 74, it's Star Fox 64.
Playtime is over, Star Fox.
I remember playing Star Fox 64.
Oh man, Star Fox, one of those, brings me back.
It was great. It's brilliant.
Star Fox 64 was amazing.
Released in 1997, Star Fox 64 blasted Fox McCloud and the popular Nintendo series into the third dimension.
It was just sort of our harmless game because it was about a fox in a spaceship, which your parents can't get mad.
When Star Fox 64 came out, everybody was really excited about how good the graphics were.
We need your help, Star Fox.
The graphics were incredible, the colors, the what you were able to do with the spaceship.
When it was released, Star Fox 64 flew off the shelves and shot down Mario to become the fastest-selling N64 game ever.
Take that! If you had an N64, you had this game. You know why? Because the characters talked.
Never give up. Trust your instinct.
Some sound effects and voices that are a little bit too over the top.
Do a barrel roll.
Do a barrel roll. Barrel roll.
Do a barrel roll.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for reminding me that I'm barrel rolling right now. I actually secretly hoped that I was in some kind of Last Starfighter scenario where I could fly a hypothetical spaceship at this point and fight to save the universe with other animal-themed heroes.
My Emperor! I failed you!
Not all great Nintendo platformers feature Mario or Luigi. At number 73, it's Mega Man 2.
God, Mega Man, you play those games? They're amazing.
Mega Man 2 was released on the NES in 1988 and was an instant hit.
Mega Man 2 is probably one of the coolest video games ever because it's like a superhero game.
You know, Mega Man was damn, he was cool. I love Mega Man, Dr. Wily, all those guys.
Mega Man 2 is one of my all-time favorite games as well. I still have my ringtone as the Mega Man 2 theme song.
I remember playing for hours and hours after school trying to become like a Mazo from Justice League, have every superpower.
Mega Man 2 gave you the choice of which bosses you wanted to beat, but figuring out which robot master you should take on first was half the challenge.
You had to pick them in a very specific order because in order to defeat one boss, you had to have the weapon that you got from beating another boss. So it was kind of this puzzle that you had to figure out once you played it enough or if you had Nintendo Power.
Mega Man 2 challenged players like no platformer had before and inspired a generation of platformers that followed.
The Mega Man 2 was incredibly hard. It came out when, we were kids and we had the time and patience to deal with that game. But I think today, I don't think kids could handle that game today. That is a challenge. That is a challenge to you at home that you could not finish that game.
Mega Man 2 is the only game that I love that I've never been able to get past 2 levels on.
Coming up next, one of the most controversial games of all time.
Finish him! Dun, dun, dun.
Plus, we finish off the Death Star.
You actually felt like you were piloting the ship.
Before taking out the Templars.
Double hidden blade assassination.
But first, which of these games was originally conceived as a TV show by Steven Spielberg? The answer when the Top 100 Video Games return. Before the break, we asked which of these games was originally conceived as a TV show by Steven Spielberg. The answer? The Dig. It was based on an idea for an episode of the TV series Amazing Stories. Next up, a classic fighting game that brought a new level of action, intensity, and infamy to gaming.
Finish him! Finish him!
Finish him! Dun, dun, dun.
Finish him! At number 72 on our countdown, one of the most notorious and controversial games ever, Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat!
It was brutal. That Mortal Kombat was exceptionally brutal. It became one of those games that's corrupting the youth of America.
Congress had this whole thing, started going after the video game industry, and they're like, these video games are making kids violent. I was like, there was never a time where, I'm gonna go to school and beat some kid up.
Mortal Kombat is credited with inspiring the ESRB game rating system and was the first game to warrant an M rating for its mature content.
Mortal Kombat was not appropriate for children. And that's, of course, why all the children wanted to play it at the arcade.
Mortal Kombat was that game that, only a few of the kids had, and, everybody wanted to go over to their house and play when their parents weren't around. It was like somebody having a dirty magazine or something. Everybody wanted to go and, rip somebody's head off.
Mortal Kombat hit arcades in 1992 and hit hard. With its brutal one-on-one death matches and plentiful gore, the game couldn't help but attract attention.
Wins. I remember being a teenager and coming into the arcade, and I'm hearing all these sounds of just this, finish him. These like kung fu sounds, and it had this kind of like photorealistic style that I hadn't seen up to that point yet. It was amazing.
It was the first time that I saw people lining up to play an arcade game. It's the first time I saw people putting their money down and saying, I got next.
In the wake of other fighting games, Mortal Kombat stunned with its over-the-top gameplay and brutal level of violence.
Street Fighter II had become this kind of phenomenon, and then Mortal Kombat comes along as the guy in the rated R movie, and there's buckets of blood flying around, there's disembodied voices laughing.
All of the awesome, really fun things that you got to do with the characters, instead of just hitting them, were all insanely magical and insanely violent and deadly.
As a teenager, this is pretty much the freaking coolest thing you could ever imagine.
Mortal Kombat did more than provide hours of entertainment. It changed video games forever.
The finishing moves, the brutalities, all the mythology to it. Mortal Kombat was a game that you would play over and over.
And surprise, years later, I think the kids are all right.
Mortal Kombat!
Liu Kang wins. Next, a game that combined the thrills of space combat with talking cats.
The rebels have taken the planet, my lord.
At number 71, it's Wing Commander 2, Vengeance of the Kilrathi.
I like to think the developers of this game used what I like to call boy math. You've got evil space cat empire plus spaceship with lots of weapons equals every boy in the world wants to play this game because you're killing evil space cats with spaceships.
I had a couple of cats growing up, but I looked at them a lot differently after playing that game.
Released on PCs in 1991, Wing Commander 2 strapped players into the cockpit of their very own spaceship.
Wing Commander 2 came out when I was 11 years old, and this game for me was amazing, and all I wanted to be was a starfighter, but you can't do that in real life because there aren't spaceships that fly around and fight aliens. But Wing Commander 2 was the first game that made me feel like it was real and you could do those things.
Now we travel back a long time ago to a galaxy, well, not so far away. At number 70, the original arcade version of Star Wars.
I think that first arcade version of Star Wars was maybe the best Star Wars game ever made.
The first Star Wars cabinets hit arcades in 1983, and fans of the franchise fell in love. They could sit in the cockpit of their own X-Wing and make a run at the Death Star just like in the movie.
So what's cool about Star Wars for the arcade is you sat in this pod, so you actually felt like you were piloting the ship.
And that was great when the TIE fighters shoot those big crunch berries at you and you got to shoot those.
Then you you get into the run on the Death Star.
And then go into the Death Star and destroy the Death Star. That was just super fun.
Luke, trust me.
When you do blow up the Death Star, it flashes the brightest strobe light at you. Today would have 17 warnings on it. At that time, they're like, sure, go play that game. You gotta find out if you have epilepsy at some point.
Star Wars vector graphics don't look like much compared to today's games, but in 1983, they blew people's minds.
They had the smoothest moves. It looked really realistic compared to any of the other games.
Whenever things go really bad for me and things have just broken down, I can almost hear Luke Skywalker say, I lost R2. Because that's the way I feel when things have gone really bad. I feel like I've lost R2.
LucasArts' 1983 arcade classic was the ultimate dream come true for millions of Star Wars fanatics.
Use the Force, Luke.
I don't think licensed games got really any better than that after Star Wars.
And now for the classic beat-em-up that let you and a buddy join forces for a side-scrolling smackdown. At number 69, Double Dragon.
Oh, wow.
Double Dragon.
Double Dragon. Oh my God, that knee punch. Like when you grab a guy and you just boom. Double Dragon's an awesome game.
Released to arcades in 1987, Double Dragon was as straightforward as games come.
You're the Double Dragon dudes, and you have to go and fight the Black Warrior gang and like the side-scrolling gang where you're beating them up so that you can save this chick, Marion.
Double Dragon, it's like playing with two Patrick Swayzes from Roadhouse. It basically, that's the guy I want to be. Like, take somebody down by the river and like break their neck and like, you know.
Double Dragon won over gamers with the then revolutionary opportunity for two-person co-op play.
That was a great co-op game. I love that. Me and my brother can both get down on at the same time.
If you both get to the end of the game together, you have to fight each other for Marion's love.
And while Double Dragon strained the bonds of brotherly love, it also pushed the envelope of what games could achieve, inspiring generations of beat-em-up games to come.
Double Dragon is fun. You just walk through punching and kicking, man. Punching and kicking, looking rad with a mullet. That's it. That's all you need in a game.
Coming up next, parkour is king from the sands of Persia.
I really like the Prince of Persia games.
To the streets of Italy.
It definitely made killing people look like good exercise.
Plus, we go above the rim for a hardcore favorite.
Boom shakalaka!
But first, Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time is the second highest grossing video game movie adaptation ever. What's first? Before the break, we asked, what is the only movie adaptation of a video game to gross more than Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time? The answer? Lara Croft Tomb Raider, which made over $130 million. And now for a game that lets you defy the laws of physics as well as time and space. At number 68, it's Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time.
I'm not gonna lie, I really like the Prince of Persia games.
Released in 2003, Sands of Time was actually a reboot of the classic Prince of Persia series, created in the late 80s by gaming guru Jordan Mechner.
I had the great good fortune to work with a fantastic team at Ubisoft Montreal to bring back Prince of Persia, which, in 2002, when we started making Sands of Time, was an old game.
This game was all about sort of puzzle solving in 3D space, and you needed to climb up curtains and jump from ledge to ledge.
Sands of Time updated Prince of Persia, adding 3D gameplay, sweet parkour moves, and of course, that handy dagger of time.
If you make a mistake, you can actually rewind a little bit. Like if you fall, you don't make the jump, you can rewind a little bit.
It's a great concept. You see that in a lot of games nowadays. That was the first one that I remember did that. It was a lot of fun.
Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time turned back the clock on an aging franchise and was rewarded with several Game of the Year awards. Our next game made its way onto our countdown one brick at a time. At number 67, it's the groundbreaking and insanely addictive Minecraft.
An amazing indie game that really put indie games on the map.
An early version of Minecraft was released in 2009 and became a word-of-mouth sensation in the gaming community.
Playing it, I remember this feeling of discovering the gameplay, of realizing you can dig down, of realizing you can dig up, of realizing you can craft things. It's brilliant.
Minecraft on the PC is the game that you fall in love with the first night you play it.
This crazy, weird, Lego block idea of a game got turned into a massive empire because the fans appreciated it so much.
The gameplay is deceptively simple, but the possibilities are limitless. You explore a vast open world for resources that you then use to create buildings made of textured 3D cubes.
The thing that I actually like the most about Minecraft isn't even really playing Minecraft, but going online and seeing all the crazy that these kids built. I barely put a sword together, and these kids have rebuilt the entire Game of Thrones set, or the entire Final Fantasy world, or like Star Wars, and that to me is the best.
Minecraft is a game like no other, and one that is only limited by the scope of your imagination.
Completely reimagined how I thought about a survival game, how I thought about a building game, how I thought about PC gaming in general.
Now it's time to step into the Animus to take on the Templars. At number 66 is the highly acclaimed open-world stealth action game, Assassin's Creed 2.
What I loved about it is the attention to detail, and I also thought the storyline was really engaging.
Assassin! Show yourself! Or are you afraid?
Assassin's Creed 2, 100% sync. Every single side mission, every single weapon. If I don't finish everything on the disc, I'm not a whole person.
Released to consoles in 2009, Assassin's Creed 2 sends Desmond Miles into the stealthy shoes of his badass ancestor Ezio and takes the fight for control of the modern world to 15th century Italy.
This is one of, if not the most faithful recreation of any city in any video game ever. You play through this game and you feel like you've actually visited Italy.
You would run across the rooftops and then run over and chat with Leonardo da Vinci. Sure.
Now tell me, how may I be of service?
Da Vinci was your guy who created all these crazy gadgets for you to help you complete your missions. Like he taught you how to fly.
Shut the flying demon!
The truth puzzles in the game, right? So incredibly hard. Anybody that tells you that they solved all of the truth puzzles, either A, look them up on the internet, which is probably what you guys did, or B, they're the smartest person in the world.
But Assassin's Creed 2 isn't all puzzles and history lessons. The game is packed with sweet stealth moves and insanely killer action.
You always had that same sick-ass weapon that would, like, a blade would pop up and just, like, stab some dude in the jugular.
My favorite part of the game was going to all the vantage points and going way up to the top, and then you would flip down into those awesome barrels of hay.
You'd be, like, jumping over rooftops and doing flips, and it was dope, dude. It definitely made killing people look like good exercise.
Assassin's Creed 2 was met with heaps of critical praise and has sent almost 10 million gamers back to Renaissance Italy.
I just want to stay in Renaissance Italy and be, sword fighting and learning all those cool parkour moves, finding the pieces to put the picture together. It's a great, great title.
It's one of the most fast-paced, violent, and insanely fun video games ever made. At number 65, Unreal Tournament.
Unreal Tournament was a really fun game. I love the multiplayer aspect of that.
Unreal Tournament was the first-person shooter that Epic Games ever did, and it was an immediate success. It was frenetic, and it was a really good time.
Unreal Tournament was released for the PC in 1999, and it was all about one thing: multiplayer carnage.
You run around and kill people. That's the storyline.
Unreal Tournament showed the world that, like, hey, captivating, gripping single-player story is great, but there's also this other thing that you can do.
It was fast-paced. You died a lot, but you also killed a lot. And it had a lot of fun, some futuristic weapons.
One of the most, man moments of my life was playing Unreal Tournament while Oz was on the other TV. So we're watching, prison and then playing Unreal Tournament at the same time. And it's doesn't get any nerdier or more manly than that.
Unreal Tournament was a trailblazing achievement in online warfare, featuring game modes that are now standard in most multiplayer shooters.
The Call of Duties and the Battlefields of the world, I don't think they'd be as successful as they are without the multiplayer component, and they owe all of that to what Unreal Tournament was doing back in the day.
Congratulations. Coming up next, we set our sights on the original first-person shooter.
Not only do you get to fight Hitler, it's a freaking robot Hitler.
Before Kratos finally gets his revenge.
God of War 3 is epic in the true sense of the epic.
Plus, it's time for tip-off in the hottest basketball game ever.
The game's on fire!
If in a real game of the ball was on fire, game over, let's reschedule this.
But first, the announcer in NBA Jam is modeled after which famous sportscaster? The answer when the top 100 video games of all time returns. Before the break, we asked which famous sportscaster is the announcer from NBA Jam modeled after. The answer? Marv Albert, who actually narrated the 1996 version of the game, NBA Jam Extreme. Next up, the game that set players on fire, one dunk at a time.
You do flips, you do alley-oops, you do all of it. It's amazing.
At number 64, NBA Jam.
NBA Jam, dude. This is the best game ever. It was a basketball, but it was nothing but slam dunks and three-pointers. It was like if Red Bull invented basketball. It was awesome.
I'm not a big sports guy. I've always been more into video games, but NBA Jam was one of those games that really kind of captured my heart and my imagination.
Hitting arcades in 1993 and virtually every other gaming platform after that, NBA Jam became the most recognizable basketball game ever.
And some of my friends would be like, man, NBA Jam is like not real basketball. But it's like, that's the whole point. It's like 2-on-2 and you just like super dunking on the person.
NBA Jam was like one of my favorite games.
Had all the best players. Had Shaq when he was young, breaking backboards like this.
It wasn't even really about basketball. It was like this 2-on-2 kind of kung fu fest involving flaming basketballs.
Could dunk from like half court, which I can never even dunk a basketball, so to see players actually dunk from half court who are actually on fire as well, I was a little concerned for their safety, but they were fine.
I can remember as a kid going down to the corner store and then playing against the older guys and always just trying to catch fire.
Woo! You get on fire, the ball would be on fire. Like, woo, it's on, you're on fire!
He's on fire!
It will burn the net.
He's on fire!
The ball is actually on fire, and that's supposed to be a good thing. If in a real game of the ball was on fire, game over, let's reschedule this. But in this, well, that's a good thing.
The game's on fire!
It was just something special about that game. The commentary.
Boom shakalaka!
Boom shakalaka! Boom shakalaka!
From big head mode to boom shakalaka, NBA Jam gifted gamers with plenty of kick-ass memories.
I mean, for sakes, you could play as a slam dunking cheerleader in that game. If that doesn't appeal to a huge demographic, I don't know what does.
And now for the granddaddy of all first-person shooters. At number 63, the seminal FPS Wolfenstein 3D. When Wolfenstein 3D was released in 1992, it featured revolutionary graphics and gameplay.
It was the most nerve-wracking experience I'd had playing a video game in my life.
Wolfenstein 3D, that was our first game that we actually had a gun, in the middle of the screen.
Wolfenstein 3D was an epic leap forward for games, although its violent content gave some Watch Dogs pause.
You're actually killing Nazis. Why is that bad, you know?
All right, quick, pop quiz. Who is the best boss ever to kill in the entire history of video games?
Die, Ally Schweinhund.
Mecha Hitler. Duh.
Eva, auf Wiedersehen.
Wolfenstein 3D blew away players and invented an entire genre of video games that are making more than $1 billion a year. Up next, a game that lets you conquer the world.
We are the most enlightened empire in the world.
At number 62, Sid Meier's Civilization II.
I spent a lot of time playing Sid Meier's Civilization.
Civilization 2 is basically a big game of Risk, only a lot more complicated with a lot more going on. And you are a civilization. You start out in the Stone Age and you have to create, this society, and it can collapse upon itself at any time.
Your leadership is kind of what determines whether they're successful or unsuccessful, but you get to meet great historical figures. There's a lot of kind of fun stuff to do in a historical environment.
This wasn't your typical button masher. Civilization 2 is for a, let's say, more bookish kind of gamer.
Sid Meier's Civilization 2 was too smart for me. I can't manage a civilization. It's just not within my power.
Released for the PC in 1996, Civilization 2 expanded on the original by giving players new units, wonders, and technologies.
Let us trade technologies now and destroy them later.
It was cool building up your armies and civilizations.
Up next, a game that managed to make Greek mythology fun. At number 61, it's God of War 3.
That gotta be like one of the best video games ever.
God of War 3 was released exclusively to the PlayStation 3 in 2010 to great fanfare and high expectations from die-hard fans of the series. It didn't disappoint.
God of War 3 is epic in the true sense of the epic.
When I first started the game, it's like you climbing up this large, Mother Earth, and Zeus is all the way at the top, and it's just crazy.
The God of War games are about this guy Kratos who was tricked into killing his family by Zeus, so now he has promised he's going to go kill all of the gods.
Kratos is an angry young man.
Zeus! Your son has returned.
He's got a lot of issues to work through.
Kratos must be a real bummer at parties. He's the douchebag in the corner doing Jaeger bombs,
God of War 3 pushed the PS3 to its limits with huge boss battles, swarms of enemies, and incredible graphics.
The graphics was on point. I loved the fight and the combat in it.
Whew. It's flingledy dingles.
When I first started playing God of War, it was just really one of those video games is this really happening during this game? 2 thumbs up for God of War, 3 thumbs up for God of War 3.
Coming up on the top 100 video games of all time.
I got it. I finished it. I'm addicted.
We launch into the top 60 with some of the most infamous,
call it Murder Ride,
most difficult,
face melting,
and most beloved games in history.
People are so dedicated to that we get emails about the game still.
Plus, Bo may know Tecmo.
Tecmo is my favorite game.
But does he know the code?
Up, down, left, right, B-A-B-A, select start, 2-player.
Find out when the top 100 video games of all time continues. From Mario to Master Chief,
that game is awesome.
8-bit to high def, the battle is on.
It's one team trying to beat the other team.
Heroes versus assassins.
Finish him. Finish him. Finish him.
Legends versus monsters.
she's the toughest bad guy in the game.
Boom shakalaka!
We're counting down the top 100 video games of all time.
Cool. Mario Brothers is basically like a quest on acid.
Just last night, I was lost in the jungle with Pitfall Harry.
I love shooters.
Best game of all time is Mario Party.
Skyrim is a way of life.
Best game of all time.
That's a game we used to play a lot.
Portal is the best game on the planet.
I got really hooked on that game.
And now,
Up,
Down, down.
Left, right,
B-A-B-A.
Select start.
at number 60, Contra.
I used to love that game. Nintendo, old school.
We're classic gamers.
We're taking it back right now. I would say Contra.
Contra was dope, man.
Contra was always one of the best games ever.
Oh, good memories of Contra. Contra love.
Though Contra was released to arcades in 1987, it's probably the version ported to the NES the following year that most gamers remember.
The cover was just two Schwarzeneggers. Yeah. Just going like that. Yeah.
Started with just you like somersaulting into the jungle, and then you would just immediately shooting aliens. Now I think about it, Contra was pretty much Predator.
Up to that point, I'd played games like Zelda and Mario that were all cute little Nintendo games, and along comes this game with these badass kind of Rambo Marine-looking guys with these crazy laser weapons against these insane aliens from space. Needless to say, it won my heart over.
My favorite weapon was the spread shooter.
The spread gun would be like you would kick ass on that.
The spread gun, you know, you had to catch them in parachutes that came down on top of you.
You get the S symbol and you had the spray gun, and that was always the gun you needed to, you know, always get to the next level. And if you could find a way to keep that to the end, it was always good.
Contra was an extremely difficult game. These were the kind of games when you were young in the 80s and 90s that you would just be willing to play these masochistic experiences.
Play that game forever. It took me probably like 2 years to beat it.
I had to use the code to beat it, otherwise I would never have beaten it.
For most players, the only way they ever beat Contra was using the Konami code.
Up, down, left, right, BA, start, or select start.
Up, down, left, right, BA, select, start.
Up, down, left, right, B-A-B-A, select start, 2-player.
At this point, I would usually just start slamming the controller into the ground.
You get 30 guys, beat Contra, and then go have pizza. It was awesome. Contra was a great game.
Next up, a game that followed a simple formula. Point, click, laugh. At number 59, it's Maniac Mansion 2, Day of the Tentacle.
Oh my god, Day of the Tentacle? This game was amazing!
Maniac Mansion 2, Day of the Tentacle is an example of a weird, warped game.
Released for the PC in 1993 by LucasArts, Maniac Mansion 2 is a point-and-click adventure game that follows Bernard Bernoulli and his pals as they try to thwart a disembodied tentacle's plans to rule the world.
I feel like I could take on the world.
Day of the Tentacle is awesome because it's got a tentacle in it, and I mean, tentacle is funny to say, also funny to fight.
Only Tim Schafer would make a game called Day of the Tentacle.
I often refer to Day of the Tentacle as the last time I had fun making games.
If Maniac Mansion 2's storyline wasn't silly enough already, players progressed through the game using a malfunctioning time machine made from a portable potty.
Bernard, float over here so I can punch you.
We thought it would really be fun that the kids were traveling through time and solving stuff. We really didn't have much more than that.
I mean, obviously we had to do a lot of really rigorous scientific research to figure out all the time travel aspects of that game, because I think it's got a lot of respect of a lot of very serious physicists.
This must be that Woodstock place Mom and Dad are always talking about.
Maniac Mansion 2, Day of the Tentacle was a groundbreaking fusion of comedy and gaming, and will forever hold a cherished place in video game history.
It was one of the few games where I just remember laughing out loud so many times while playing the game. It was just so ridiculous.
That thing is a blur of like laughing, spitting up things out of my nose, and just like the ridiculousness of time travel, and I always have a warm place in my heart for Day of the Tentacle.
Up next, a title that proved a massively multiplayer game was not only possible, it could be incredibly fun. At number 58,
a world that is Ultima Online.
Ultima Online is pretty much the only game I played in college.
It just changed the whole way we look at video games.
Released in 1997, Ultima Online pushed the boundaries of gaming and social networking to help create a new genre with an ever-evolving game world, a user-driven economy, and player versus player combat.
We could see the emergence of the internet. We could see the emergence of this connectivity. We knew already the power that would be there if we could create a successful game.
Richard Garriott, who took his Ultima money and built himself a castle and sent himself into space. He made that much money from Ultima because it was that popular.
Ultima is a franchise that, defined RPG gaming. There's a lot of things that owe a debt of gratitude to Ultima and what it did.
Next, the debut game for an addictive franchise that enraptured millions of kids.
It was an insidious game that stole the minds of our nation's youth.
At number 57, gotta catch 'em all, it's Pokemon Red and Blue.
Pokemon? Okay, I mastered that. You're Ash Ketchum, and you're you're on your quest to go hunt and catch and collect all the Pokemon in the world.
This game was the must-have game for the Game Boy. You had to, catch all of the 150 plus Pokemon and then pit them against each other. Why? I have no idea.
The dual releases of Pokemon Blue and Pokemon Red introduced gamers around the globe to Pikachu, everyone's favorite yellow electric mouse. Wait, he was a mouse?
Pikachu! I've always felt that Pokemon had something to do with retribution for World War II. Torturing the parents. Apparently the Japanese are still fighting the war.
Whether you were down with Pikachu or not, there's no denying that tons of other people were. The first Pokemon game ranks as the best-selling RPG of all time.
I have so many fond memories of going about to different places and capturing all the Pokemon.
I beat the whole game. I collected every single Pokemon. I filled up my Pokedex.
I love the game. It's just one of those old school games they just haven't, you can't remake it.
Coming up next,
Warrior is about to die. Valkyrie needs food.
It's time to throw down the gauntlet and take on one of Disney's toughest baddies.
Get ready for this.
Ursula that's another vein popping out of my head.
Plus, we catch up to the fastest blue hedgehog on the planet.
It's a badass.
But first, although Contra made it famous, which game was the Konami code invented to help defeat? The answer when the Top 100 returns. Before the break, we asked which game the Konami code was invented to help defeat. The answer? Gradius, Konami's insanely difficult side-scrolling shooter first released in 1985. Get ready to bust out your best Ultra Combo.
That felt good to me.
At number 56, it's Super Street Fighter IV. Fighting games were all but KO'd when Capcom released Street Fighter IV in 2008.
Okay, Daddy.
Well, in 2008, fighting games were on a downfall. Not a lot of people were playing fighting games. But when Street Fighter IV came out, it brought back everyone together. It brought everyone back to life.
SF4 brought fighting games back to life, but it was Super Street Fighter IV that set the bar for what a modern brawler could be and got everyone back on the sticks.
It's the biggest time in the history of Street Fighter. Everybody knows this game.
I used to do the old when Street Fighter first came out. That's when it was easy. Now it's reached too many levels for even me to hang with.
I love playing that sumo because I can't play it at all, but for some reason I know that one sumo is super flappy arm. He's big and fat, and then he's he can almost beat anyone.
Super Street Fighter 4 is one of the best fighting games I've ever played.
Next, an unlikely collaboration that yielded one of the most original games in years. At number 55, Kingdom Hearts.
Man, Kingdom Hearts.
Allow me to demonstrate.
This 2002 PlayStation release was the product of a partnership between gaming giant Squaresoft and Disney.
Kingdom Hearts was one of the pinnacles of kind of like Japanese RPG meeting American culture and all of it rushing together.
And you squish those together into a sandwich and you come out with a game that people are so dedicated to that we get emails about the game still.
I was super excited for it to come out because I love the Final Fantasy games, and it was a lot of people that worked on Final Fantasy came on to work on Kingdom Hearts. And I was excited to get to see Disney characters and how they integrated them into this world.
We better get out of here.
It's really pretty incredible. I mean, from Aladdin to the Little Mermaid level was murderous. Ursula that's another vein popping out of my head.
The blending of die-hard gamers and dedicated Disney fans resulted in a successful new franchise and an entire generation of Kingdom Hearts cultists.
I had this one other friend, and how I knew he played it, he came to school one day, he had a Kingdom Hearts jacket on.
I guess I could get that a try.
I was like, you play Kingdom Hearts? And he's like, yeah, I play Kingdom Hearts. That was our common.
The game was just amazing. It got hardcore gamers, it got young kids who had never really played RPGs like that involved, and I wish they would do more stuff like that nowadays.
Behold! Up next,
Wizard is about to die.
we head back into the dungeon with number 54, Gauntlet.
Gauntlet was one of the main games at the skate park I grew up at, so I would hear it in the arcade every day, Warrior is about to die, Valkyrie needs food.
Valkyrie, food.
Gauntlet hit arcades in 1985 and blew gamers away with its ability to let 4 people play at the same time.
Gauntlet was that first game where you were like, why are 4 people around a video game?
It was the first kind of true multiplayer experience.
Now, Gauntlet, that's a party!
Valkyrie, food.
Valkyrie needs food badly.
There's 4 different joysticks, and you would pick 4 different characters.
You're either the warrior, the Valkyrie, the wizard, or the elf. And we would always let the elf die. Always.
Elf needs food badly.
I don't know why.
Warrior needs food. Warrior is about to die.
Warrior needs food.
Warrior needs food, absolutely. I like to play the wizard. The wizard's my favorite.
Gauntlet was great.
Gauntlet redefined what co-op gaming could be and gave players their first glimpse at the multiplayer experiences we're playing today.
That was also one of the first games I think I put $20 in there.
Now for the game that changed the way we looked at first-person shooters and RPGs. At number 53, Deus Ex.
All right, let's do this. It was really an amazing blend of first-person shooter and gameplay with RPG elements.
What else do you know?
Deus Ex had this incredibly complicated and well-crafted story about conspiracies and government.
Deus Ex was released in the year 2000 in the wake of the Y2K panic, and gamers embraced its dark dystopian vision along with its compelling blend of genres.
Deus Ex that kind of embraced that kind of cyberpunk technology that a lot of authors had kind of explored, but video gamers haven't really played with up until that point.
Deus Ex ushered in a new era of complex gameplay. Suddenly, players were given freedom of choice, with each decision impacting the storyline.
One of the first games that allowed you to do things your own way. You weren't just a dude who got a flamethrower. You could manipulate how you wanted your character to be in the game.
They could solve puzzles in any number of ways. They could sneak past the giant mech, they could take it down with combat, or they could hack it and reverse it and make it fight for them.
I don't have time for games.
It wasn't just that you were, going through this game and looking for a solution and getting to the end. I mean, you were having to write your own story. It is the start of making choices, and making choices matter to gamers and affect on how the games are perceived and played, and that's why Deus Ex is a classic.
Coming up next,
I got it. I finished it. I'm addicted.
One of the most addicting games of all time takes aim at a rock and roll superstar.
We play a lot of Rock Band in my house.
Plus, the Mario title that changed gaming forever.
It was mind-blowing. I've never seen anything like it. Here we go!
But first, what was Mario's original name? The answer when the Top 100 Video Games returns. Before the break, we asked, what was Mario's original name? The answer? Mr. Video. Not only did the name Mario come later, so did his ability to jump. Next on the countdown, a game that truly rocks. At number 52, Rock Band 3.
It allowed just about everybody to be a rock star, you know, and you could live vicariously through that game.
My girlfriend's super into that, so we play a lot of Rock Band in my house.
Released in 2010, Rock Band 3 introduced awesome new features like 3-part harmonies, a realistic pro mode, and a keyboard, making jam sessions with friends more fun than ever.
Everybody wanted to have the keyboard. It's so much fun. It's so ingenious. I think it's the best instrument that lends itself to a music game that I've ever actually seen.
Now, I didn't really think that I would get that hooked into like the music games. But the execution of Rock Band, plus the library of music, you can go online and always find some band that you really like and download it.
Thanks to its variety of downloadable tracks, Rock Band 3 has endless replay value. And even some real rock bands are downloading their own music to dominate the game. Well, almost.
I definitely suck. I got like probably 70% on my own singing, and it was like, it can't be like that. When I wrote this part, I sing this part.
Yes, so I failed Rock Band at my own song. That is the unfortunate truth.
A moment of silence.
But I thought it was hilarious.
I didn't think
it was the best.
I thought you had it. I was like, we're going to ace this.
Yeah, I was like, oh, give it.
Leaderboard.
Easier than this.
Yeah.
But no.
Wah, wah.
Real-life rocker or virtual virtuoso, Rock Band 3 proved that anyone can be a star.
My dad's on the drums, my mom's on the mic. I'm usually playing guitar or keys, and, you know, it's really an amazing thing.
Next on the countdown, a sequel that surpassed the original with more action, more hilarity, and more delightful weaponry.
Should I have a look?
At number 51, it's Ratchet & Clank Going Commando. Released in 2003 for the PlayStation 2, Going Commando featured Ratchet, who was a... wait, what the hell was he exactly?
It's some sort of rodent thing, like a squirrel fox hybrid that can talk and is like a spaceman.
Well, whatever he may be, Ratchet teams up with his robot pal Clank to bring peace and justice to the galaxy.
So you sell these gadgets?
For the sequel, we had to figure out what can we do to top all the crazy weapons that we had in the first game.
You might have a slime gun, or you might have like a giant rocket launcher. My favorite gun is, of course, the Sheepinator. You get to turn enemies into sheep. Wait, I guess that was pretty self-explanatory, wasn't it?
Ratchet & Clank Going Commando wrapped brains, brawn, and laughs into one irresistible game.
A really important aspect of Ratchet & Clank for us at Insomniac was humor. And that's reflected in the story, it's reflected in the character design, it's reflected in the weapons, and it's certainly reflected in the game's titles.
My word, you young people are so fresh these days.
There are a lot of inappropriate references, except they're all perfect double entendres. So the kids aren't going to get it, and the adults are sitting in the back being like, heh 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 heh.
Next up, a blindingly fast blue furball who gave Mario a run for his money. At number 50, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, most definitely Sonic.
Sonic was awesome.
I love Sonic the Hedgehog. It's a badass.
Sonic the Hedgehog was Sega's answer to Mario, giving the company a recognizable mascot and players an alternative to Nintendo's famous plumber.
Sonic the Hedgehog is the first game that made you rethink how much you loved Mario.
Sonic was the Mario Brothers for the Sega Genesis.
I used to play it almost every day when I was younger. I mean, I don't know exactly what it was. It just
that kept my attention. I guess a lot of games don't keep my attention, and that was one of the games that did.
I like Sonic the Hedgehog because it brings me back to the glory days when I used to be good at video games, and I really thought that one day I could see a hedgehog and he'd be doing the same thing.
Released in 1991, Sonic the Hedgehog gave gamers an attitude and velocity they hadn't seen before in a side-scrolling mascot.
When Sonic the Hedgehog came out, it kind of blew us all away because this was the first video game character you could play that had sneakers on. And he had a bad attitude, and it was more rock and roll than Super Mario.
He was cute, but also kind of feisty.
Sonic the Hedgehog was the first game that really sucked me in, and I cannot tell you how many times I heard Saga, and then he was like, doo, 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 doo. That's stuck in my head. I did that. The no-no hand from Sonic.
Sonic the Hedgehog finally gave Sega a popular mascot and gamers a new series that's still speeding along today.
Sonic the Hedgehog was classic.
And next on our countdown, a game that's probably in your pocket right now. Launching onto our number 49 spot, it's that madly addictive puzzle game, Angry Birds.
I got it. I finished it. I'm addicted.
You know what? I just got hooked on Angry Birds. Angry Birds was the game that the entire world played for about 1 year straight.
Angry Birds was the world's response to bird flu. We took the decapitated heads of diseased poultry and we launched it where? Into a fort filled with pigs.
I hate those pigs. F those pigs. I want them to die.
First released in 2009, Angry Birds' elegant physics puzzles managed to ensnare even the most casual gamer.
I remember I was playing it for a while and I started getting really into it. And I was like, oh, I want to finish this game and I want to get all 3 stars. And I can honestly say I've completed all levels 3 stars.
Angry Birds has guided me through many airports and flights and waiting rooms.
If they're ever stuck in traffic, which I sometimes am, or maybe I shouldn't admit to playing Angry Birds in traffic. I wouldn't do that, people.
The Angry Birds franchise has just passed 1 billion downloads.
Angry Birds, they're on top of it. They put out new content regularly. They keep everybody playing. It doesn't get old. It's not going away. I think it's a very simple, very elegant concept, and I think it works for everyone.
I've got like the Christmas Angry Birds, the Halloween Angry Birds. I think there's a Rio de Janeiro Angry Birds. I have like 6 different versions of Angry Birds, and they're all cool.
Coming up next, Bo knows Tecmo.
You try to get 99 yards per every rush.
Like Rockstar knows the Old West.
John Marston marries a hooker and is blackmailed by his government. Just a story of my life.
Plus, Mario has to save the princess again.
We all know what Mario really wants.
Here we go! But first, which game character's name is also the name of a gene on chromosome 7 of the human genome? The answer after the break. Before the break, we asked what video game character is also the name of a gene. The answer? Sonic the Hedgehog. When not collecting gold rings, it helps regulate the growth of your button-mashing digits. You don't need sick graphics and epic storylines to make our list. All you really need is Bo Jackson.
Bo knows everything. Bo knows baseball, he knows football, and he knows Tecmo, too.
Bo knows Tecmo Bowl.
Sprinting its way to number 48, Tecmo Bowl.
Tecmo Bowl was my favorite game. Tecmo Bowl was awesome. It was such a great game.
Tecmo Bowl was one of my favorites.
Released for the NES in 1989, Tecmo Bowl became the football title of choice.
Tecmo Bowl was dope because it was like the first game where they had a season in the sports games.
I was a big Bears fan, and Tecmo Bowl was the first game where I realized you could do like entire seasons, and man, that was the game changer. Where you could all of a sudden go, I could do the Bears and try to do the Bears all the way through the year. I used to do sleepovers with friends, and we would go from like 9 at night to 3 in the morning.
They had like maybe 4 or 5 teams, 6 teams, 4 or 5 plays. You just had to make it happen.
If they picked the same player you did, you were screwed. And if you picked the right player, it was a touchdown.
I don't never like to run the ball. I just like throwing it. It was never a time where they don't catch the ball. It was either caught by the person or intercepted. It was never really no incomplete passes when you played Tecmo Bowl.
Tecmo Bowl was amazing, though, because there were superstars in football at the time, and they felt like superstars in the game.
Willie Gault, like, that was my dude right there. Like, he caught everything.
But the most famous superstar in Tecmo Bowl history was Bo Jackson.
Bo Jackson was the best player.
If you have Bo Jackson on your team, you are set. You give him the ball every time, feed him the ball all day long. He will cruise through the line of scrimmage, and you kick outside to the bottom of the screen, and you go.
Go all the way up, and you go all the way across, and you try to get 99 yards per every rush.
It must have been in his contract that he was just 10 times faster than every other player.
Bo Jackson was one of the guys on there that was just unstoppable.
Superstar players, your favorite teams, and Bo Jackson. Tecmo Bowl amazed gamers and changed digital football forever.
It was insane. It was fantastic. It was the first football game I ever played, and I still own it to this day.
Next up is a game that entranced millions. At number 47, step into Myst.
I think Myst is one of the most influential games of all time.
A PC adventure game released in 1993, Myst gradually and hypnotically revealed its secrets.
When that game came out, it was so beautiful, it was so immersive, it's eerie, it's spooky, it's scary.
It was really the connection, I think, between the high-resolution graphics and the sound effects.
I just knew I would take up too much of my life. Like, I wouldn't be here on television. I'd be sitting in an apartment alone in Burbank still playing Myst and just covered in Cheetos.
There were no enemies to fight, and your avatar couldn't die. Just a seriously weird island to explore and puzzles upon puzzles to crack.
It's all problem solving, all puzzles, no shooting.
It was kind of a choose your own adventure, but with puzzles, and somehow they managed to make these still images really engaging.
I don't know, there's something about just looking at a screenshot going, what is it? Is there a lever?
There was something about it that was enchanting in an almost musical, hypnotic way. I played that thing for days. That's all I did, and it was so beautiful.
Even now, like, if I'm somewhere and I'll be like, man, this looks just like Myst.
Thank you again.
It's off to the Wild West for the game at number 46, the immersive open-world Western adventure, Red Dead Redemption.
Red Dead Redemption is every great Western.
Red Dead Redemption put players in the dusty boots of John Marston and dropped them in the middle of a modern spaghetti Western.
John Marston marries a hooker and is blackmailed by his government to go kill his former gangs. Just the story of my life.
How badass your protagonist is, that he can slow the world down, and it goes into this gorgeous sepia, and then you can pick your targets slowly, as if he's going into this Zen place in his mind.
Red Dead Redemption didn't just give you missions, it gave you the ability to explore a continent's worth of gaming possibilities.
You wanted to just head out into the wilderness and do little mini side quests the whole entire time, you could absolutely do that. Or you could follow a main storyline and actually have like the directed quest lines and everything and not get distracted by, you know, the prostitute that needed to be rescued.
I got the game, never beat it, but I did spend 40 hours hunting cougars. So, there's that.
And in true Rockstar Games fashion, the Red Dead Redemption soundtrack was a standout on its own.
All the music in the game is actual tracks from these old spaghetti Western movies. They did an amazing job putting this stuff together and really, capturing that feeling.
Amazing music, a troubled hero, and lots of gunfights. Red Dead Redemption is everything a Western should be.
If it were a movie, it would be considered one of the best Western movies of all time.
This next game snuck up behind us and knocked us out cold. Coming in at number 45, it's Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear Solid, I gotta take the glasses off for this one. Metal Gear Solid is like a classic.
Solid joined the extremely popular Metal Gear franchise in 1998, with players inhabiting the role of retired super spy, Solid Snake.
Yeah, Snake is just like this ultra solo stealth badass guy.
Can you shoot me, rookie?
That game was amazing because all of its boss battles were so completely unique and different.
I am Sniper Wolf, and I always kill what I aim at.
Sniper Wolf, that battle was so tense. It was a mind bender. That's when a game is good, is when you can remember screenshots of it in your head.
But Metal Gear Solid is recognized for more than just its incredible boss battles. It was also a watershed moment for players used to simply blasting their way through action games.
Metal Gear Solid didn't invent the stealth mode, it perfected it.
Every other game, you were just trying to kill as many people as possible. But in Metal Gear, it took strategy. You had to sneak around.
The first time I played it, it was just like, what is this game? Like, I would hide on the wall, knock on the wall.
You're trying to be sneaky. When somebody sees you, they get a big exclamation point on top of their head. Drink makes that noise.
People, and they couldn't find me. I used to always hide and just yoke people out or run. You know what I'm saying? It was like a real sneaky game.
Even with multiple installments in the Metal Gear series, for many, Metal Gear Solid will always be the best of the bunch.
They pushed the boundaries of gaming at the time further than any other game I'd seen.
Coming up next, one of the most controversial game series ever.
What about the 300 people you killed just driving around?
Takes on one of the most difficult.
It was face melting.
Plus, the game that changed Mario forever.
Oh, this is really scary. It's 3D. It's real.
But first, which of these is the best-selling game in the Mario Brothers series? The answer when we return. Before the break, we asked which of these is the best-selling game in the Mario Brothers series. The answer? The original Super Mario Brothers. It flew off the shelves over 40 million times. Our next game is the most recent release in a series that's as groundbreaking as it is controversial. Number 44, Grand Theft Auto 4. Released in 2008, GTA 4 became an instant classic.
Grand Theft Auto 4 is a lot like Grand Theft Auto 3, but it's a big upgrade in terms of graphics, in terms of the overall gameplay of the world.
So the whole Grand Theft Auto series, I think, kind of hit a high watermark with Grand Theft Auto 4.
Do this all day if I had to.
You're this guy, Niko Bellic, who comes from some unnamed Eastern European country, and you've been through some type of war, and you come to this country, and you find yourself getting into a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I love Niko Bellic because he's just so, he's tired. I don't know, something about that. I'm not saying I feel that same way, but I identify with Niko Bellic. Also, probably the same taste in clothes.
I always felt kind of skeevy after playing as this Russian mobster. The fact that he was dating that American girl.
Oh, hey, Niko.
Plus my wife's sleeping in the other room, so I felt like I was cheating, like living this other life.
Niko, it's not quite as evil as Grand Theft Auto 3, which might be better. I might be able to sleep better at night after playing Grand Theft Auto 4 than Grand Theft Auto 3, because Niko does seem to have a soul.
He's trying to decide if he's going to live a good life or a bad life. But the thing is, even if you pick a good life at the end, he's like, oh, I picked the good life. And I was like, okay. What about the 300 people you killed just driving around?
But the creators of Grand Theft Auto 4 didn't forget the simple pleasures that made the series so popular in the first place.
So awesome. I call it Murder Ride. That's my... I don't play the missions. I just get in a car, jack it, and just start running over people. Or sometimes I'll just start cracking on people and just murdering them just solidly.
The hardest I've ever laughed playing a video game was with Grand Theft Auto 4.
Up next, one of the greatest blast the crap out of everything games of all time. At number 43, we give you Quake 3 Arena.
If you've got balls, if you've got game,
and you really want to step into the real first-person shooter arena at the highest level, I think it's Quake 3.
Released to PCs in 1999, Quake 3 Arena strove to be pure multiplayer rocket-blasting fun.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, I loved Quake. That game, you know, inspired a lot of other games.
Every moment of the gameplay has to be fun. You know, it has to be fun what you're doing at the keyboard and the mouse, you know, as you're moving around, jumping and shooting at things.
And while shooting at anything that moves sounds easy, not getting blown to jibs by the legions of fanatical id fans was anything but.
Quake 3 Arena's introduction to jibs in the modern lexicon has led me to walk around constantly looking for blown-up pieces of people. But there aren't any, because our cities keep the streets clean.
First-person shooters today, obviously, are probably the biggest business out there. But if you want to truly find out if you're good at first-person shooters, pick up Quake 3 and play it. My answer, I'm terrible.
Just because of how intense it was one of those games where you'd come out of it and you'd feel like you'd actually been in war. You'd come out kind of sweaty and feel like you'd done your own little nom time in front of your laptop while you're eating ho-hos.
It is amazing how good the people got at that game.
And now, a side-scrolling adventure that challenged, befuddled, and slowly drove an entire generation of players insane.
This game was the difficulty equivalent of repeatedly slamming your head in a car door. It was agonizing. It was kind of fun at the same time.
At number 42, it's Ghosts and Goblins.
Frustration, anger, it's when I discovered I had a vein in the middle of my forehead that could almost burst open. But I kept on going back because who doesn't want to fight evil in your underwear?
Just face melting. You got one hit, maybe two if you're lucky. Next hit, you're dead. Sorry, kid, go home.
You're a knight, and you have to go rescue your girlfriend or the princess from like these evil goblin guys. And when you get hit, your armor disappears and you're just in your underwear, which is humiliating because not only are you fighting demons, now you're also just in your underwear. That's like two different nightmares I have combined into one.
Released in 1985, Ghosts and Goblins is considered one of the hardest games ever because to truly defeat Satan, you have to beat every level twice.
Oh, the thing that drove me mad about Ghosts and Goblins, I went through it twice, got to the top, destroyed that weird monster thing, and I'll never forget, at the very end it says, congratulations, with no S at the end. How hard is it to just say congratulations?
And now, the title that helped revolutionize 3D gaming. Landing at number 41 is Super Mario 64.
Here we go! Definitely Super Mario 64.
Bigger worlds, badder bosses, everything was more fun.
I had to finish it. I was obsessed with it.
Mario Brothers on steroids.
Released in the summer of 1996, Super Mario 64 added a whole new dimension to Nintendo's most recognizable franchise.
It was everything you want Mario to be, but in 3D. For me, it was like the culmination of video games at the time. That was it.
That was the first time I really paid attention to Mario game, and it just blew my mind. It was one of the main reasons I stopped making PC games and started getting really into console games, because I started to play them a lot because of Mario 64.
This was some good right here. You can beep that part out. My mistake.
While Mario 64 changed just about everything for Mario, it didn't change the fact that Princess Peach had to be saved again.
Are they together? Are they dating? Is this just a potential girlfriend? Is this girl he's a crush on? I don't know.
We all know what Mario really wants.
Here we go!
Then you gotta like jump through these paintings, and you go in the paintings, and each painting is like, it's like Snow World, and then you have all these levels of like snowmen and penguins, then it's like Volcano Land.
You know, wet, dry world and big, small world. And
I remember like feeling a sense of fear first getting into Bowser's Castle. The flames and the lava, and you're just like, oh, this is really scary. It's 3D, it's real.
The The 3D world of Mario 64 allowed players to battle Bowser and his minions in a whole new way.
And you get behind Bowser and you grab his tail and you spin the 64 joystick around and you toss him all the way off the stage. That was like one of my highlights, you know what I'm saying?
I didn't know my thumbs, could do circles like that, and it's controlling the camera and everything else. It was so innovative, and you still see it today. And you see it in games where they don't get it right. Like, they got it right in that one. You see games now today, you're like, they did that 16 years ago. Can we please get camera angles right? Come on, guys.
Super Mario 64 not only solidified Nintendo's standing in a new age of console gaming, it changed the way people played games forever.
It was like a new world. I mean, that it could exist in 3 dimensions like that, and it was just so expansive, and it was mind-blowing. I never seen anything like it, you know?
Coming up on the top 100 video games of all time.
Definitely a Halo guy.
Master Chief shoots them up. Mike Tyson knocks them down.
Mike Tyson. I was coming after his ass.
The biggest games of today.
Joker and Bane and Clayface. They're untouchable, man.
Take on the all-time classics.
It was a hack and slash game, but sweet.
And only one will survive.
Best game of all time.
We're counting down the final 40 when the top 100 video games of all time continues. From Mario to Master Chief.
That game is awesome.
8-bit to high def. The battle is on.
It's one team trying to beat the other team.
Heroes versus assassins.
Finish him! Finish him! Finish him!
Legends versus monsters.
She's the toughest bad guy in the game.
I gotta thank these little digital guys with the big hearts. Does it feel good to be a champion? Yeah.
Boom shakalaka.
We're counting down the top 100 video games of all time.
Cool. Mario Brothers is basically like a quest on acid.
Just last night, I was lost in the jungle with Pitfall Harry.
I love shooters. Best game of all time's Mario Party.
Skyrim is a way of life.
Best game of all time.
That's a game we used to play a lot.
Portal is the best game on the planet.
I got really hooked on that game.
At number 40, an arcade classic that shaped the future of video games, Space Invaders. Space Invaders was released to arcades in 1978 and blew people's minds.
It absolutely blew our socks off. It was unlike anything else we'd ever seen.
I'm 40 years old, so I was there, okay? I was there when pinball players were like, what's that box over there? I only play pinball. What is that thing? Huh? And like cavemen, we wandered over to this big box that had Space Invaders. I was there at the birth.
If I could think of a game that I was really into as a kid, it would be Space Invaders. Just nailing them. I was into that.
Space Invaders was one of those games where you just go like this.
And they're all dancing. Gotta move. You gotta move it. We gotta hit the UFO. Every time you shoot one, it gets faster and faster and faster and faster. So the one guy's like, no. Like, why was the one guy so damn fast? But together, they were just slow.
I remember being in an arcade as a really young kid and just hearing this thump, 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 and it was just strong, powerful bass sound. You had this emotional reaction to it, thump, thump, thump. It was the first one to really use audio in that way to make you feel something.
Everybody was playing Space Invaders, and by 1982 it had made over $2 billion in quarters. while the console port quadrupled sales of the Atari 2600.
I don't want to give away my age, but I'm old school Atari with the joystick and Space Invaders.
Yeah, it was dazzling, because these were real alien spaceships, and they were coming to get you. And you had a laser cannon, and you could fire it and destroy them and possibly save the world.
Oh, I love that game.
Next up, the title that managed to capture the appeal of grinding a rail and expand the scope of sports games in the process. At number 39, it's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
I remember playing Tony Hawk back on the PS1. That was like my first skating game that I played.
When the original Pro Skater hit the PlayStation in 1999, the game had a lot to live up to.
I wanted to make a game that skaters would be proud of. You know, even if they didn't play video games.
Not only did it bear the name of the most popular skater in history, but it was expected to accurately capture the skating experience, something that hadn't quite been accomplished.
I remember the half pipe on that game was gnarly, man. I loved it.
I remember spending a whole day doing motion capture, and at one point my board shot up and hit one of the cameras, and it took them 3 hours to reset all the cameras in the right place. Everyone would compliment the motion and how realistic it looked, and they're like, it looks just like you doing that trick. I'm like, same animation for all the skaters, but cool.
The true appeal of the Tony Hawk series has been in capturing the skill and finesse of real skating, especially for gamers who maybe, you know, aren't actually that coordinated.
If you were like a fat kid with glasses and braces and acne like this guy, you weren't very good at skateboarding. So this game made you feel like you were really good at skateboarding. Also, you could do a kickflip while collecting a VHS tape. And you can't do that in real life, even if you're not the fat kid with glasses and braces and acne.
It would inspire you to go skateboarding. You know, you'd play Tony Hawk and you'd be inspired to actually skateboard, and then you'd get out there and you'd like ollie once, skin your knee, and be like, this, let's just go eat a Hot Pocket while playing Tony Hawk.
The first Pro Skater was a runaway success, launching a fan-favorite franchise.
2 thumbs up for Tony Hawk, man. You a legend.
Next, strap on your power suits and get ready to roll. At number 38, Super Metroid.
Super Metroid was fantastic.
One of the greatest video games ever crafted was Super Metroid, of course, for the Super Nintendo.
It was easily the greatest game that I had ever played.
1994's Super Metroid gave fans of the original NES classic a reason to get excited.
Super Metroid took everything that made the original great and just knocked it into the stratosphere.
I mean, Super Metroid had amazing gadgets, amazing weapons. It had backtracking. It had character development, even though there really wasn't a story. It was a very cool game ahead of its time.
You went through each level trying to find different parts of your suits to make you awesome.
For many gamers, the most awesome part of Metroid was the heroine, Samus.
Everybody just assumed that Samus was a boy, and then it wasn't a boy, it was a girl, and she was awesome, and she saved that planet, and, you know, I just remember being really proud to be a girl.
It made me feel like I was a superhero when I was playing it. She was a badass, and that was really important to a little girl.
That game, top 5 games of my life.
And now, the game that set a new standard for first-person shooters.
Good to see you, Master Chief.
At number 37, Halo, Combat Evolved.
Halo was definitely the game that got me into console gaming. I was never a console gamer.
Definitely a Halo guy. Yeah, so from the first Halo came out till now, so I love Halo.
I love the storyline. The gameplay is awesome. I love the online play.
There are certain songs you hear from games that just make you so happy or take you back to a time that was so awesome. And every time I hear, the theme song to that game is so incredible.
This is how much of a Halo freak I am. This is awesome.
Halo was an instant hit upon its 2001 release, breaking sales records and creating a frenzied devotion to the game.
We used to play 4-player split screen. We would play this game all night until the sun would come up the next morning.
And we would hook up like 3 different TVs in the house and we would just go bananas. There's just nothing but laughter and people calling each other names and occasionally throwing things at each other, shooting your buddy in the face and then going, "Ha!" And he's like right there, like that's the best.
How you doing, amigos? When I would kill you with a pistol from across the map, I would say, another Casey Kasem long distance dedication. Everyone hated when I said it too.
I even got my roommate who was not a gamer to play because I wanted to drive the Warthog and have someone else shooting.
I'm on a 4-wheeler. I got my friend on the back. He's holding a machine gun, and we just coming through, just spraying people.
If you ever see a black car driving down the highway and it says, "My other car is a Warthog," that's me.
Want some more? Halo also introduced gamers to one of the most beloved, most enduring, most all-around badass characters ever, Master Chief.
Master Chief, he's one of my favorite characters. He's a classic.
Master Chief is hot.
Is it true? There's Jesus, and then there's Master Chief. He's right there.
The flood is spreading. If we activate Halo's defenses, we can wipe them out.
Master Chief, multiplayer, and an unforgettable score. For many gamers, Halo is still the greatest first-person shooter of all time.
I think Halo is heads and tails above any other game ever created, and I will say that till I die.
Coming up next, the games that let you climb inside the cowl
I was blown away.
or climb inside the ring.
You can't punch all Indians when they're ruby shimmers.
But first, in Batman Arkham City, which villain is voiced by yours truly? The answer? After the break. Before the break, we asked, which villain in Batman Arkham City was voiced by yours truly? The answer? The Penguin, Oswald Cobblepot. Now a game that puts you right inside the Cape Crusader's cowl for an awesomely immersive adventure.
Today isn't a good day to lie to me, Bane.
At number 36, a title that shattered the rules of superhero games, Batman Arkham City.
This is gonna hurt.
I like Arkham City. It's pretty sick. Really good.
I was blown away. You play it and you feel like you are in the comic book and you're actually a part of it.
And all the characters, like their interpretations of Joker and Bane and Clayface, they're untouchable, man.
There's plenty wrong with me.
The sequel to Batman Arkham Asylum, Arkham City was released in 2011 to near universal acclaim, thanks to its insanely detailed environments and a combat system that let players lay the smackdown on Batman's most fearsome foes.
Arkham City came along, suddenly I'm like, oh, that's how this should work. I should be able to sneak around and target people with my batarangs. Hang upside down, string a guy up, and then grapple boost over to the next gargoyle.
The flying, you get to bat glide. It's like so awesome. And not only that, but when you bat glide, you can hone in on a group of person or one person, and you can glide kick them.
There's nothing that beats that. It's so amazing.
Unrivaled action set in the most expansive world yet for a superhero game makes Batman Arkham City a truly unforgettable experience.
The cool thing about it is that it's something that surprises you every time you play because there's so much to do.
The whole city that it's open format is gorgeous. You can do whatever you want. There's so many separate missions that you can do.
I think it's really just the best representation of the sort of insanity of Batman and his world of foes that's ever existed.
Avengers is the new bar for superhero movies, and Batman Arkham City is the bar for superhero games. You know, it's amazing.
Next on our countdown, a side-scrolling classic that gamers and goth kids can both agree on.
What is your business here?
Our number 35 video game of all time is Castlevania, Symphony of the Night.
I will play that game, I will beat that game, and immediately start playing it again.
But enough talk! How about you?
1997's Symphony of the Night was the first installment in the series for Sony's PlayStation, sending a dashing hero into the depths of a creepy castle to battle evil priests, giant bats, and Dracula himself.
Okay, I love Castlevania Symphony of the Night so much. It took all of the best things that made Castlevania so great on the original Nintendo and amped up the graphics and still made it fun and feel like the way Castlevania was supposed to be made.
You still had your whip, you had, your usual tools, except it was just bigger and it was better and it was more frenetic.
But the best part was the weapon of holy water. That was great for my family too, who was super religious, and my grandma wanted me to be a priest, and so I was like, I'm throwing holy water!
Castlevania Symphony of the Night was an enormous adventure that rewarded players for exploration.
I'm just going to spend the next 10 hours searching for a key and breaking every object that I find in case a key pops out, because it could.
It was the greatest Castlevania, and it still remains the greatest Castlevania, because no Castlevania that has come out has been close to how awesome it was.
Symphony of the Night isn't just the best game in the Castlevania series, it's one of the best side-scrolling adventures of all time.
It should be on every top 100 list ever from here till the end of time. Anyone that doesn't have it on that list is a moron.
No! It cannot be!
What do you get when fans hack into a highly regarded game and alter its programming? Only the most popular first-person shooter in the history of video games. At number 34, Counter-Strike.
Counter-Strike is a game with amazing longevity.
I spent a lot of hours playing Counter-Strike with friends online.
I was supposed to play for like 8 hours nonstop.
Counter-Strike started as a fan modification to the hugely popular Half-Life. A retail version was later released in 2000.
There's something really satisfying about the team-based combat. You really have to talk with your teammates in order to win, and you cannot go Rambo.
I was never any good at it, but it was fun. I got killed a lot.
Counter-Strike is still wildly popular and has sold over 27 million copies since its release. Hop on your Chocobo and join us for the most celebrated triumph in a series of legendary games. At number 33, the RPG masterpiece, Final Fantasy VII.
Final Fantasy VII is an RPG that changed my life.
Final Fantasy VII is the first time that I played a game obsessively for hours, and then I was in that world.
That game was just, it was amazing. It was larger than life.
The release of Final Fantasy VII for the PlayStation in 1997 transformed the series from popular into a flat-out phenomenon, thanks to its cinematic cutscenes, clever combat system, and a great story.
They took it out of the typical fantasy element. It was no longer about magic and wizards and dragons. It was this futuristic world, and your main character drove a motorcycle.
What made it fantastic for me was the cutscenes. I mean, the cutscenes were, it was like watching a mini movie in between each battle sequence.
I spent 110 hours on that game. I had my golden chocobo. I had Knights of the Round, the 7-minute spell that you had cast.
Anyone that took the time to get Knights of the Round will never forget that intense, 5-minute long animation sequence every time you cast it.
Playing was it was beautiful, and it sort of went seamlessly. It wasn't like a herky-jerky like a lot of games were. And
it's a iconic game.
Oh, it was gorgeous, and I miss it. I want to go back and play it now. I really liked it. All right, kids, to tell you.
The immense popularity of Final Fantasy VII not only launched the PlayStation into console prominence, it helped to establish the role-playing game as a mainstream genre the world over.
It was just this epic world and story, and opened my mind to what games could be.
It was so beautiful and so amazing, and there's so many elements to it. It actually hooked me onto RPGs for life.
Coming up, whether you're taking on Mike Tyson,
That's a badass.
or the dragons of Skyrim,
How can you not like that?
it's almost time to finish the fight.
One down, one to go.
I'm a pacifist, but not when I'm fighting the Covenant.
The demon is at hand.
But first, which game was the first to play the entire national anthem? The answer when the top 100 video games of all time returns. Before the break, we asked which game was the first to play the entire national anthem. The answer? Double Dribble. Pummeling its way into the countdown at number 32, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
I loved Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
That's the best fighting game probably ever.
Released for the NES in 1987, players stepped into the ring as Little Mac and fought through a series of increasingly challenging opponents.
The first guy would come out, easiest guy in the world.
Why would he even be a fighter? Like you obviously earned the name Glass Joe.
Glass Joe, knock him out. Like, we could beat his ass.
All had their signature move. There was the Indian guy would disappear, and so he'd show up here and punch you, and then he'd show up here and punch you.
The Great Tiger. I had to convince some people that you can't punch all Indians when they're ruby shimmers.
Soda Popinski, the big Russian guy that would drink a lot of soda and act drunk, who knew what was in that soda. Bald Bull, he was intense when he would come with his bull charge.
He would like get in the back of the ring and go like, and then he'd storm forward.
You had to time that perfectly or you get knocked out.
The Little Mac could just beat the crap out of Hippo by hitting him in that stomach when he opens up his arms.
You'd wait for him, he'd punch you, and you'd dodge and dodge. And then you could pound him in the stomach a bunch until it was totally over.
The cool thing about Punch-Out, too, is it had like a little story in it. It would show you jogging while your trainer was like this old fat black dude would be on a bike.
That was just awesome watching him train, right? Riding along and with his coach. What was the song? I'm trying to think. Do any of you guys remember the song?
Key shift.
When Little Mac's wearing that pink jumpsuit, it just goes to show that he doesn't give a
That's a badass. If you can wear pink and still get in the ring with Mike Tyson, I mean, come on.
The game ended with an epic showdown between Little Mac and the man himself, the fearsome Iron Mike.
I thought about one character, Mike Tyson. I was coming after his ass.
He's this gigantic, scary beast of a thing that is way fast.
It's kind of how I feel when I'm standing across the cage from an opponent.
I wonder how many people went up to Tyson in real life and was like, I kicked your ass, Nintendo, and he was like, bam, what'd you say now, bitch?
Up next, one of the most sprawling and ambitious video game adventures of all time.
Skyrim is not a game. Skyrim is a way of life.
At number 31, The Elder Scrolls V: Skyrim.
Oh my god, Skyrim. I can't stop.
Skyrim is the game that you go into and you think, oh, I'm just going to spend a few hours playing this. And then 40 hours later, you're still sitting there reading books, doing alchemy, creating your potions.
I can't stop. I bought it the day it came out. And I have not. I've been playing it ever since. It's been months.
Just walking down the street and a f***ing dragon drops out of the sky and you beat it to death with a club and a fire hand. How can you not like that?
I've been playing a dark elf mage. I named him Gene Wilder. He's the archmage of Winterhold, if that's impressive to you in any way.
I went to magic school for probably 30 hours. That's almost a real class.
And although Skyrim is a single-player experience, it's one of the best examples of what an online community of loyal fans can do, when a game maker releases its development tools.
I did watch the YouTube video with Randy Savage as a dragon, and that is incredible.
Yeah!
It's like basically the dude flying around as a dragon, but it looks like Randy Savage. He's like, snap into a sling, yeah! Oh yeah! He's breathing fire at you.
Yeah!
Everything about it is amazing. The open world gameplay is amazing. The stories are great, and there are dragons flying everywhere. And the sense of scope and scale is really unlike anything I'd ever experienced before in video games. And that's why Skyrim's so great.
Up next, the most kick-ass arcade game ever. At number 30, Super Street Fighter II Turbo.
The best thing about Street Fighter II was all the sounds that they would make when they were fighting.
Sure you can.
And then the uppercut was
Sonic Boom.
Dalzim had the Yoga Fire.
Yoga Fire. That's racist.
Super Street Fighter II Turbo hit arcades in 1994 and became an instant favorite for an entire generation of gamers.
This is a game I grew up playing, grew up loving, all my friends, we all did.
Some of the most fiercest competitors were on that video game. I mean, guys that you didn't think you thought were like nerds and stuff, when they got on that video game, it transformed them.
Super Street Fighter II Turbo transformed the series by adding super combos to the repertoire of all the famous fighters.
I was Balrog. I was always Balrog.
I really liked Dalsum because he could stretch and I could keep my opponent away fairly easily. And when I didn't use him, I used Chun-Li.
I just remember there was this one kid in my neighborhood named Malik, man. He used to play with Chun-Li and nobody could beat him. Every time you get to him, he'd have that kick out on you. She was so sexy back then, man. She was like Beyonce before Beyonce.
I mean, anybody could get on there, anybody could be a button masher, anybody could have a good time, anybody could play, and anybody could beat somebody else on a quarter, you know?
It's just a fun game.
And now, a game that combined role-playing with one of the most beloved science fiction franchises of all time to create an undisputed masterpiece. At number 29, the Force is strong with Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic.
Knights of the Old Republic is my favorite video game of all time.
Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is awesome on so many levels.
All the different planets, all the different characters that you can interact with.
Released in 2003 for the Xbox and PC, in Knights of the Old Republic, players must assemble a powerful team in the quest to defeat a dark Sith Lord.
I will break you.
I'll never fall to the dark side. It's a really amazing, immersive story. What was great was that you had moral choices and you could choose to be light side or dark side.
Of course, I went evil first. So betraying everyone. Please save my child. Murder. Go out, find the kid, murder him.
Freedom of choice, morality, and a massive world to explore, Knights of the Old Republic was a revelation that managed to expand upon a beloved franchise and create a new legion of fans.
I'm basically an RPG player, that's my thing, and Knights of the Old Republic is the one that, for me, created the genre. And it was a world in which I could really believe in, and it was a world with a lot of hot femalians, which made it even better.
Coming up next, we get behind the wheel of the ultimate speed racer.
I'm a huge fan of Mario Kart.
Before taking the field with a Hall of Famer.
He's in there for the touchdown.
I mean, it's just a perfect game.
Plus, we hit the streets of Liberty City for some messed up mayhem.
I would play for a whole hour just evading the police.
But first, which comedian made a cameo in Grand Theft Auto 4? The answer when we return. Before the break, we asked which comedian made a cameo in Grand Theft Auto 4. The answer? Ricky Gervais. Next up, the most influential racing game ever released. At number 28, it's Super Mario Kart.
I'm a Mario Kart guy.
Favorite game of all time?
Mario Kart.
Well, Mario Kart was awesome.
I'm a huge fan of Mario Kart. I can't stop. I just love the battle. I like to shoot shells at people.
Released for the Super Nintendo in 1992, Super Mario Kart was a critical success, and more importantly, a lot of fun to play.
Super Mario Kart came out. It was the greatest racing game ever, and it was fun because you were playing characters that you fell in love with so many years ago.
We usually went with Yoshi. Yeah, Yoshi, and try to get some of the shortcuts. That was a lot of fun.
I'm a Yoshi guy. Always Yoshi. There's always a fight between me and my brother who got to play with Yoshi.
I'm always Bowser because he just runs over people and he gets the best weapons.
What do you mean Bowser? That blew my mind when the game came out. What? You could be the bad guy? Okay, why not? Don't tell Mario.
That was a game where, you know, a girl wouldn't roll her eyes when you turned it on. Like, oh, you fat nerd, what are you doing? You know, that they didn't do it. They wanted to jump in and play too.
That was another one of those, like, sweating. Like, my friend would, like, dab my face, and I'd be like, the rainbow level, we just gotta get through it. Like, all day, for, like, weeks. Like, wearing the same pajamas for, like, 7 days.
You get to just screw everyone behind you with turtle shells, drop banana peels, they're slipping all over the place. Go, screw everyone, I got star power. F you, I'm winning.
Peach has got it. Ding dong, bye-bye.
At number 27, Chrono Trigger.
It's one of the most underrated, greatest RPGs ever.
Released for the Super Nintendo in 1995, Chrono Trigger perfected the detailed side quests, battle mechanics, and plot points that define a JRPG.
You could recruit characters, but you had so many more options, and depending on the choices you made, if you did this thing, you got this character. If you did this thing, you got that one.
But the most mind-blowing aspect of the game was also key to Chrono Trigger's plot: time travel.
I love a game where you can time travel. I'll take any time travel game, and Chrono Trigger is the best one.
Chrono Trigger is a game that I'll always go back and I'll always play again.
At number 26 is the minimalist masterpiece for the PlayStation 2, Eco.
You know, games today look like action movies and Michael Bay movies, but this felt like you were playing like a beautiful movie.
The first time you sit down on the couch with that girl and you're holding hands, you can just tell, like, this is a unique kind of game.
Eco was really one of the first games, I think, that made me care about the characters in the games.
You play as the boy Eco, and armed only with a chunk of wood, you must protect and guide a girl through the ruins of a gloomy castle while battling shadowy creatures.
When you're standing looking up at a wall and the princess comes up and takes your hand and you feel the controller vibrate, you know, that was a great moment.
The game sort of plays with light and shadows. Light is good, shadows are bad. The way the light comes in through the windows and stuff is really cool looking.
It's not just you do a level and then you do another level. It's a castle that all the different parts of it fit together.
The thing that made me cry about it was the ending was not a happy ending. When a story has a little twist at the end like that and you don't really get what you think you deserve, if it's done well, it's very powerful.
Next up, the most controversial title on the countdown. At number 25 is the game that made gaming dangerous: Grand Theft Auto 3.
Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto. Come on now.
Grand Theft Auto 3 is like so legendary.
Loved Grand Theft Auto 3.
I started to play it and I was like, whoa, like this game is like crazy.
Released in 2001, Grand Theft Auto 3 didn't just revamp the GTA series, it revolutionized third-person games.
Whoa, I can do whatever I want in this game. And it strikes you as like, can I do this? Yes, I can do this. Can I get out of here and do this? Oh my God. Like, it's just remember the first time I played it, it felt like you could do anything.
The world, like getting in there and seeing how big the world was and how bad you could be, like you can do some pretty crazy stuff in those games.
It taught you a lot of skills that you may need if you want a life of crime, right? Oh, you would pick a prostitute up, you could steal cars, you could jack people.
You could maybe kill a prostitute if you want. Apparently, people are a little bit touchy about that.
I would play for a whole hour just evading the police, just running from the police. Stop! Stop! They would say, stop! You just keep running the whole game for a whole hour, just running from the police, a whole hour.
Going up and punching a guy and then taking his car, it's kind of fun.
The most infamously immoral title ever released, Grand Theft Auto 3 was a shot of adrenaline to the heart of hardcore gamers.
But it really is an amoral world where you can do anything. And I see why parents have problems with it, but I love it.
Coming up next, we take on the Madden curse.
When you make the cover of Madden, good things don't happen to you.
Before taking out the Covenant.
That's a legendary video game. It's in my top 5.
I found him!
Plus, we reveal the greatest survival horror game ever created.
No game recently has made my heart beat as fast.
But first, what video game character did Jean-Claude Van Damme portray on the big screen? The answer when the Top 100 Video Games returns. Before the break, we asked, what video game character did Jean-Claude Van Damme portray on the big screen? The answer? Guile.
Plays, making plays, making plays. Well, you know, that's how my people like to handle their business. While your guys are out partying, mine are running routes. Touchdown. Oh, God, is that pretty. God, is that pretty. Yeah, I'm a gentleman. I like to be humble. I'm old school. I don't like to talk a lot.
Rushing in at number 24, Madden NFL 2005.
Greatest game of all time, any order, any year whatsoever.
Madden 2005 was the moment where my son beat me for the first time at anything. That game's in the trash right now.
Madden 2005 was a highlight reel of features that showcase how far the series had come since its rookie year in 1988.
It's so realistic, it's awesome, and it's kind of your way to live the life of one of those players or some of those teams, and it's awesome to be a part of it.
Madden 2005 first, like the defensive playmaker and hit stick, put gamers and NFL players on the digital gridiron like never before.
I'll definitely play Madden.
NFL players, they love Madden. Like, Madden's probably like the #1 game that everybody will play.
I love playing Madden just because of all the features, the new features they got going on with the game.
Playing the game, coming up, seeing the guys that you idolize, you know, and then to be one of those guys myself, it's a great honor.
They love the game. They love how realistic it is. They love the terminology, visuals. I mean, it's just a perfect game, you know, as evidenced by how well it's been received.
Madden 2005 was the first time the series sold over 6 million copies and helped propel Madden into becoming the top-selling sports franchise of all time.
I gotta thank these little digital guys with the big hearts. Does it feel good to be a champion? Yeah.
At number 23, Halo 3.
Halo 3, it was a good game. Just the storyline, how they carried on, you know, it's kind of had its own unique touch to it.
Halo 3 is a game that I suck at, but I played so much.
That's a legendary video game.
Released in the fall of 2007, Halo 3 included everything fans already loved about the game and the promise of closure in Master Chief's battle against the Covenant.
I'm a pacifist, but not when I'm fighting the Covenant. You know?
Here's what I like to say to the Covenant. Give me all of your energy weapons so that I may smash you, may I cleave you in two with your own gravity hammer. Don't talk.
That multiplayer is fantastic. We play it around the office all the time. Like, Halo 3 is a fantastic game, but the new weapons, the new maps, the physics of it all.
Sometimes when I'm playing online and people start talking trash, it gets out of hand. Let me tell you, it gets out of hand.
When I played live, you know, I'm getting schooled by 12-year-olds in Australia, and I'm calling them Harry Potter, and they're getting mad at me because they're like, Harry Potter's English, I'm Australian. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm just doing it to piss you off.
With a record-setting $170 million in sales on its first day of release, and solidified Master Chief's ranking as one of the most influential video game characters of all time.
That game is spectacular, and then the franchise just gets better and better.
Just to see how far they
that game has come and how big the franchise has gotten, it's crazy. A big, big, big salute to the guys at Bungie, the whole team that created the game. Kudos.
Spree gained the lead.
Next up is a game that was critically acclaimed and nearly impossible to find. At number 22, it's the Sega Saturn classic, Panzer Dragoon Saga.
It's a simple story of a man getting on the back of a laser-shooting dragon and flying around, not taking acid.
Panzer Dragoon is what I order when I go to the Thai food restaurant. I get 2 Panzer Dragoons with some cream cheese in that.
In this expansive 4-disc RPG, you play as Edge, a young hunter who fights evil with the aid of a pretty impressive partner, a flying dragon who shoots lasers.
What do you want in a video game? You want to be able to ride a dragon. If you can ride a dragon with a homing laser, that's even better. And Panzer Dragoon Saga gave all that to the gamer and more.
It was seriously some of the most cinematic combat that I have ever seen at that time for an RPG. I mean, it was pretty rad. Also, dragons.
While Sony PlayStation and the Nintendo 64 dominated the market, the Saturn fought for life just long enough to sell a mere 30,000 copies of Panzer Dragoon Saga, making one of the best RPGs of all time a legitimate collector's item.
If you try to find a copy now online, it's going to run you about $500 to $800.
It is an extremely rare title. It's a 4-disc set, and it's on Saturns. And to a lot of RPG gamers out there, it is considered to be one of the best because it is a rare and valuable commodity in the game space.
Up next, a modern horror masterpiece. At number 21, it's Resident Evil 4.
For most people, I think Resident Evil 4 was the first time that the series really hit its stride.
When it was released in 2005, Resident Evil 4 blew away gamers.
It's not about it.
Right,
It like
it's not
changed
just
from
zombies anymore.
Well, yeah, like the virus is like the reanimation, but then it turned into like those parasites that were controlling people, and they would like explode out of them.
There's zombies, and then their heads explode, and then there's these tentacles that come out.
So you're just like walking along in this like burned out, sandy, kind of a brown dirt world, and everyone that you're looking at, they're all like, whether they're dead or not.
Those are some angry, angry Europeans. And they are not happy you're there, and they want to kill you with chainsaws and a slow lumbering gait.
RE4 did more than update the franchise. It set a new bar for survival horror by winning numerous Game of the Year awards.
No game recently has made my heart beat as fast.
Coming up on the top 100 video games of all time.
Oh my God, it's insane.
Oh yeah. We're down to the final 20.
It was just a real dope game.
They're the best-selling.
I'm a huge Call of Duty fan. Massive.
Most memorable.
Probably the game that I played most.
And biggest games of all time.
I had to finish it. I was obsessed with it.
But there will only be one crowned the top video game of all time.
Best game of all time.
If there's not their favorite, then why?
When the top 100 video games returns. From Mario to Master Chief.
That game is awesome.
8-bit to high def. The battle is on.
It's one team trying to beat the other team.
Heroes versus assassins.
Finish him. Finish him.
Finish him. Legends versus monsters.
She's the toughest bad guy in the game.
Boom shakalaka. We're counting down the top 100 video games of all time.
Cool. Mario Brothers is basically like a quest on acid.
Just last night, I was lost in the jungle with Pitfall Harry.
I love shooters.
Best game of all time's Mario Party.
Skyrim is a way of life.
Best game of all time.
That's a game we used to play a lot.
Portal is the best game on the planet.
I got really hooked on that game.
At number 20, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare.
I'm a huge Call of Duty fan. Massive.
Oh my God, it's insane.
Released in 2007, Call of Duty 4 took the bold step of transitioning from its predecessor's World War II settings to drop gamers into the middle of frenetic modern-day warfare.
This was our chance to really redefine what our players thought about from a first-person multiplayer experience.
Normally a campaign guy, but for that game, the whole ranking system, it's incredible.
Everyone goes online, you're in the same chat room, you're in the same game, you're all playing with each other.
It's a blast because, you know, you get the little kids and, you know, you can hear them screaming at you, and in the background their mom, you know, hey, come clean your room, blah, blah, and, you know, like, shut up, Mom. It's pretty funny.
I've tried with my 12-year-old and just get killed in 30 seconds in, but I'm going to get to minute 2 at some point.
There's some kid in Ohio who's just awesome. You're like, how did you do that? You just sniped me from inside a trash can, man. What are you doing?
That's why I don't play multiplayer. They own you.
I own you, bitch. How old are you? 12.
There are games that transport you to unique, magical places. And then there are those games that send you to hell. You know, in a good way. At number 19, it's the devilishly entertaining hack-and-slash masterpiece, Diablo II. Underworld-themed Diablo II hit PCs in 2000.
If you ever wanted a hand cramp, you should play Diablo 2. That game is an amazing example of how a normal person with a normal psychological makeup can become completely obsessive.
It's the kind of game that you go to sleep at night and you're thinking about it. You're thinking about the creatures you fought, the weaknesses they had, what strategies you're going to use tomorrow when you wake up, and it's just that type of game.
Diablo 2 became the loot lover's game of choice.
Clicking and getting loot. Clicking and getting loot.
Click, 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 click.
Clicking and getting loot.
Click, 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 click.
There's something very relaxing about sitting back and just kind of getting these monsters, getting the treasure, getting the monsters. You know, playing Diablo almost felt like a form of meditation.
Clicking and getting loot. So good.
At number 18, Miss Pac-Man.
You can't say you're a gamer and not know what Miss Pac-Man is.
Anybody with a bow in their hair rules.
But I have a Miss Pac-Man machine at my house. I'm just bragging. Now I'm just bragging.
It's a really charming story of Miss Pac-Man and Mr. Pac-Man. They meet and they have Pac babies.
You know, that's why people play Miss Pac-Man, right? The riveting story.
Released in 1982, Miss Pac-Man upgraded the original gameplay with 4 increasingly difficult mazes, moving bonus fruits, and solid, brightly colored walls.
All of us universally thought Miss Pac-Man was better than Pac-Man.
It doesn't hurt my masculinity to say Miss Pac-Man's better than Pac-Man. It is. It's a fact.
Better mazes, unpredictable ghosts, and let's be honest, Miss Pac-Man is just far sexier than her male counterpart.
Miss Pac-Man was, dare I say, hot?
I'm just going to say Ms. Pac-Man is sexier. She's fresh, she's fun, she's presentational.
Miss Pac-Man implies that you got a shot with her, you know? It's not Mrs. Pac-Man. She's a sexy little yellow dot.
We're not so sure about that, but one thing is certain. Miss Pac-Man will always hold a special place in the hearts of gamers everywhere.
Miss Pac-Man was a game that my dad and I played together, and even to this day, Sometimes I'll just get like a text from my dad, and it'll have a picture of like Miss Pac-Man screen. He'll be like, "Guess what I'm doing now?"
Miss Pac-Man's a classic. That's a game I could play for a long, long time.
That's one of those games that'll never go away. It'll live forever.
Rushing into the number 17 spot on the countdown is Blizzard's strategy masterpiece, StarCraft.
I was just so addicted to those games.
Released in 1998, StarCraft dropped players into the middle of an intergalactic war between three very distinct races.
Our forces are under attack.
Sargrash! StarCraft revolutionized real-time strategy games and set a new bar for online multiplayer.
The more you play it, the better you get at it, but you're also playing against other people that are also getting better at it. And it feeds into like the competitive nature of people. It feeds into, humans' desire to get better at things.
StarCraft has sold over 10 million copies since its release, making it one of the best-selling PC games of all time.
I had to actually uninstall it and break the disc because it was just taking up way too much of my practice time.
At number 16 is one of the most groundbreaking and immersive games ever released, Half-Life.
Half-Life is an incredible experience. I love the whole idea of you're in this entire different universe.
Released to critical acclaim and massive sales in 1998, Half-Life is the gold standard for a first-person shooting experience.
Half-Life was fun because you were, it had that sci-fi element. Predictable phase arrays. They're killing those mutants and like the weird zombies with like crab heads, if I remember correctly, and pretty messed up game, but a lot of fun.
What the hell are these things?
But Half-Life was more than your usual first-person shooting gallery. The game's creators didn't include any animated cutscenes and instead moved the story along using scripted sequences.
Ah, Gordon, here you are.
As a result, the player remains fully immersed in the game by always seeing the world of Half-Life through Gordon Freeman's eyes.
That was the thing about that game that was mind-blowing. You were, for the first time, I think, really a part of the world, that the world interacted and looked back at you.
I am impressed.
Coming up next,
everybody wanted to save Zelda.
The Final 15.
It introduced a whole way of gaming that has never been played before.
Will Kong be king?
Anything that involves like a plumber and a big gorilla, what's more fun than that?
Or will 007 take the gold?
Oh, I got the golden gun.
But first, which of the following is not a bonus item in Miss Pac-Man? The answer when the top 100 returns. Before the break, we asked, which of the following is not a bonus item in Miss Pac-Man? The answer, the pineapple. And now an arcade classic that helped launch an entire franchise and put Nintendo on the map.
The reason I'm able to continue this work, it all started with Donkey Kong.
At number 15, it's the 800-pound gorilla of video games, Donkey Kong.
Anything that involves like a plumber and a big gorilla, what's more fun than that?
The now legendary Donkey Kong first hit arcades in 1981. This addictive platformer featured Mario in his first ever video game appearance as he attempted to rescue his girlfriend from the barrel-throwing ape.
No, I don't think Princess Peach getting kidnapped is funny at all. I think that's serious business, and you've got to take it seriously as a gamer. If you don't, you're just kind of leaving her to die at the hands of whatever Dark Lord or the monkey or the gorilla or whatever.
Tiny person who looks like a monkey running away from barrels after bigger monkey who has stolen girl.
That giant gorilla just took this girl I want to ask out. He climbed the top of this building I've been trying to build that's been a pain, and now he's throwing barrels that somehow hit that oil barrel that's on fire, and now they're fire barrels that somehow go up ladders.
He's a gorilla, barrels. He throws the barrels, and it just perfectly, so he does a little spin.
There was the one that had the woo, boink, 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 woo. You know, it had the weird elevators and then the thing dropping. So.
If you actually make it all the way up to the top, you think, yay, I'm gonna rescue the princess. No, he comes and he takes the princess to the next level.
That's not an easy game. Like, you have to put some serious time in, and then you go right back to the beginning if you lose. That's pretty frustrating.
All frustration aside, Donkey Kong remains a singular piece of gaming history, as countless spin-offs, sequels, and imitators prove.
Nintendo wouldn't be as huge as it was if it wasn't for the original Donkey Kong.
And now a game that merged the cinematic thrills of a big-budget movie with the action of a video game. At number 14, it's the white-knuckle thrill ride, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves.
It's one of those games now where you get to control your own movie.
How's that look?
It's like, oh, I get to do Indiana Jones myself. Like, it's amazing.
It took Uncharted and just blew it out of the water in terms of adding so many more cinematic elements and so much more immersion with the way it told the story.
Released for the PlayStation 3 in 2009, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves tells the globe-trotting story of Nathan Drake and his quest to recover Marco Polo's lost treasure.
Quite the badass is the only way to describe Nathan Drake. He can kick, he can shoot, he can punch, he can hide behind a little ballast and come out surprise a mofo.
The thing that jumps out the most to me about Nathan Drake is his upper body strength, because he's always climbing everywhere.
It's like you really feel like you're climbing on a cliff face. You do get caught up in the moment, and you worry for your character when he's hanging off a ledge.
The PS3 cell processors were pushed to the limit to bring Nathan Drake's adventure to life.
The first thing is you wake up in a train. You're like, oh, what's going on? Hey, that's my blood. Then you realize that things are falling towards you because the train is off the cliff.
And you're hanging at the bottom with one hand trying to climb back up. The train's on fire.
And you got to claw your way out of the train as it's going to fall past you, and then you're not done because there's bad guys coming at you.
That's where the game starts. Like, what? Did I hit start wrong? What did I do?
Groundbreaking, exciting, and funny.
Hey! Jackass, you're ruining the show here.
Uncharted 2 Among Thieves is everything a great video game should be.
There's a reason to buy a PS3. Uncharted 2.
There are games that make you jump through hoops, and then there are games that make you jump through, well, everything. At number 13, it's Portal.
Portal is the best game on the planet.
The genius of Portal lies in some of the most brilliant in-game physics ever developed.
You can create your own portals.
It's a little hard to kind of wrap your head around the fact that I walk in one place and I walk out of the other. Your brain doesn't want to accept that reality.
As a human guinea pig in Aperture Labs, your character, Chell, wields a portal gun to create insane shortcuts through a series of deadly rooms.
There's just so many variations with what portals you can make and where you can make them and how you can go through them.
It introduced a whole way of gaming that has never been played before. The way that you are flinging yourself through portals and picking up speed.
Well done.
Portal will be this really fun game just based on its mechanics alone. But it's got this whole other layer of this emergent character of GLaDOS.
We will stop enhancing the truth in 3, 2...
You're being taunted by Hal's sarcastic sister through the whole thing with her very pleasant speaking voice and her passive-aggressive nature.
We are pleased that you made it through the final challenge where we pretended we were going to murder you.
It's like the mom you never wanted.
Luckily, I shared that same love for sarcasm with Gladys. And I feel like at some point I dated Gladys myself.
The only thing you've managed to break so far is my heart.
Thrilling, frustrating, darkly comical.
I'm going to kill you, and all the cake is gone.
And even occasionally heartbreaking. Portal is one of the most unique gaming experiences of all time.
That game is made by geniuses, and it makes you feel like a genius when you play it.
The close quarter combat, the badass weaponry, the vicious creatures. At number 12, Doom 2, Hell on Earth.
Doom 2 was awesome.
Released for the PC in 1994, Doom 2 puts the player in the boots of a space marine who returns to an Earth overrun by demons.
Robot demons and a big freaking gun. That's what made Doom 2 so great. Was there a story? I don't know. Do I care? No, I do not. Because I get to blow up things in hell, on Earth.
That was the coolest part of the game. The beasts from hell. I mean, where else would they come from?
Doom 2 was a game that I played a hell of a lot of.
Doom 2 was probably one of my favorite shooting games.
It's something you can totally get addicted to because it's super visceral, it's fast, it's violent, more violent than anything that ever came before it.
What I remember from old school Doom was it being that game that only one kid's parents at school would let him have, and so everybody would want to go over to his house and play.
Doom 2 was more than just a fast-paced shooter. It was also scary as hell.
Oh, I was terrified. As a little kid, that was terrifying. And the sound effects are still kind of frightening.
Remember we would talk about Doom dreams where I would start to fall asleep and I would hear the...
Everybody would go to sleep and I'd be on the computer with my headphones on, and sometimes my brother would sneak up on me and I would just go crazy because the game is so intense. That'll freak you out. That'll scar you for life. I still go to counseling every Tuesday for that. Because of Doom. It's that serious.
Up next, the N64 masterpiece that changed the way we look at Link forever. At number 11, it's The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time.
It tickled me in a way that I don't think any other game really had.
1998's Ocarina of Time was the first time the Zelda series was in 3D, and it opened up a world of possibilities for Link.
It was the first game that I remember sitting on the couch and putting literally hundreds and hundreds of hours in. It's the first time that I really felt like Zelda was just wide open, that Link could go really anywhere. I remember just riding around that field on Epona, just riding and enjoying the environment, just feeling what it was like to travel the landscape, to look for hideouts, to look for new things that I can collect, go sell in the market, and then of course to go and harass the chickens.
Adding to the legend were the musical moments made possible by the ocarina.
They completely integrated this thing where you actually got to play the music in Zelda.
Learning new songs, to do different things in the world, to unlock things.
So to call your horse to you, you have to play its song. Do 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 do.
The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time has sold almost 8 million copies and will live forever as one of the best games of all time.
Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time definitely has the #1 spot in my heart.
It was an amazing, amazing game.
Coming up,
my favorite game of all time would have to be World of Warcraft.
The top 10 video games of all time.
I love Super Mario Brothers.
They're the giants of gaming.
It was a hack and slash game, but sweet.
Who will fall next?
When stuff starts speeding up, it gets a little hot in my neck.
But first, how many different pieces are there in Tetris? The answer when we return. Before the break, we asked, how many different pieces are there in Tetris? The answer? 7. At number 10, it's the massively multiplayer masterpiece, World of Warcraft.
My favorite game of all time would have to be World of Warcraft.
What's really amazing about World of Warcraft is how open the world is. Everyone can have a different experience.
And there's just something so perfect about it.
World of Warcraft debuted in 2004, and for a monthly subscription fee, players from across the globe could adventure together with their personalized heroes.
There was this feeling that even if you had never played games before, if you first got into the game, you could figure it out and be immersed instantly.
I felt like that was one of those games that bridged the gap between gamers and brought people together. You know what I'm saying? Instead of everybody sitting at home playing by themselves. So it was innovative in its own right.
World of Warcraft completely hooked me, sucked me in, and didn't let go for a long time.
6 months ago, I just said I have to quit. And I cold turkey quit Warcraft, and I've been clean ever since.
World of Warcraft is a fantastic and ever-changing universe that continues to unite millions of gamers across the world.
People think it's this antisocial thing, but it's absolutely not. It's the opposite. You're just connecting with people in a different way.
Gorgeous simplicity helped transform our next title into one of the most memorable video games of all time. At number 9, we present the hauntingly beautiful Shadow of the Colossus.
Your girlfriend dies, this guy tells you have to go kill these giant colossi to bring her back. Basically, it's just a series of boss battles. These huge, massive monsters, flying ones, swimming ones, ones that run around, ones that burrow under the ground.
I always kind of looked at it as almost like a puzzle game. You know, you weren't entirely sure which way you had to go to get up the creature. So you're like, I'm gonna try this way. Oh no, that's not it. Go this way, and as you kind of worked your way up.
They're not bothering you. They're not bothering anybody. They're hanging out in the dirt, just chilling, and you're going up to them for no reason, climbing them and stabbing them in their vital organs.
I never felt worse defeating the boss in a game. It was so sad. So sad. I was like, I finally did it! Oh, I did it. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I killed you. I'm so sorry. You feel terrible. But then you gotta go get the next one.
Shadow of the Colossus stands as a work of art and proof that complex gameplay isn't necessary to create an incredible game. Up next, a bullet-filled, rocket-dodging trip to the world of James Bond. At number 8, GoldenEye 007.
Best game of all time.
GoldenEye was my game. That was basically it. Loved it.
GoldenEye? Big GoldenEye fan back in the day?
When GoldenEye came out, every single person was playing that game. And if you weren't playing that game, then you were nobody.
GoldenEye really was kind of the blueprint for all those first-person shooters.
I think if you put all the times that I played GoldenEye and drank a 2-liter bottle of Coke while I did it, I should be about 900 pounds.
When GoldenEye was released for the Nintendo 64 in 1997, millions of gamers gathered to take each other on in the game's 4-player split-screen deathmatches.
Probably was the best multiplayer N64 game ever.
I really enjoyed 007 GoldenEye when I was a kid. It was a lot of fun. Got some guys together. Really had a lot of fun with it.
I used to play with my friends. It was like a big deal. It was like who was best at GoldenEye.
It was so fun to be in the same room, play with people. You were playing on a tiny little screen, quarter of a tiny little screen, but it was okay because the game was so fun that it was just endless, endless, endless entertainment.
All I would do is drink a 2-liter bottle of Coke and just shoot people and be like, oh, I got the golden gun.
Golden gun, I was the champion.
I was just like, hey man, this is me handling business. Give me the golden gun. 1 bullet, done.
That was what I remember, just shooting my friends in the head over and over again.
And for millions of gamers, GoldenEye 007 will be the measure of what a first-person shooter should be.
GoldenEye, not even a great James Bond movie. Video game, I think is my favorite James Bond thing that exists.
At number 7, it's Super Mario Bros. 3. The original Super Mario Bros. Made side-scrolling platformers popular. Super Mario 3 perfected them.
Super Mario Bros. 3 is just building off a great game and making it even cooler. The levels in there, the controls, the characters.
Regular Mario, they just had the green portal thing. Super Mario Bros. 3, here comes the magic whistle.
frog suit when you were going down into the water, and then you could like jump higher when you were above the water in the frog suit.
It really was the Tanuki suit. Totally was the game changer for me in that, and just absolutely floored me.
3 was the game. When Mario started flying, it was sick.
Like, that was the coolest thing. Like, Super Mario had a raccoon tail, which for some reason was very exciting at the time.
You get to fly. I mean, come on. You're Super Mario and you're flying around the world, which is so cool.
With 18 million copies sold since its 1988 release, Super Mario Bros. 3 is one of the best-selling and most beloved games of all time.
I mean, Super Mario Bros. 3, I think, is the seminal, maybe the most important of the Mario games.
Super Mario Bros. 3, that's just a classic game.
Up next, a gaming legend.
Oh, The Legend of Zelda. Oh, my God.
Legend of Zelda is like a special game to me.
At number 6, it's the Nintendo classic, The Legend of Zelda.
Zelda is like another one of those games that's in history forever.
Because all these dudes wish they were running around with a weapon saving princesses.
Released in 1986 for the NES, The Legend of Zelda was a game changer for the industry and a favorite for gamers.
It was so sweet, and it was a hack and slash game, but sweet. And it had all these puzzles, and my wife and I played it so much at the time that it was crazy. And it was immersive.
I used to love it with that sword and the giant coins, the coins that are bigger than your body. That was exciting. And Zelda 2, the princess, she was so pretty, and you wanted to save her, this little green outfit, going into caves and getting magic potions.
The Legend of Zelda mixed a high fantasy adventure with some of the most memorable music and sound effects in gaming history.
The whole Zelda series is one of the most powerful Pavlovian audio experiences you can have in terms of just a little sound effects you hear that trigger crazy reactions in your body. The sound of collecting a rupee, it just probably makes people like salivate.
Us from Pakistan, so we also used rupees. The only difference is in Hyrule, there's fewer cars on fire.
Legend of Zelda was worth its weight in gold for Nintendo, spawning a series that has sold over 60 million copies.
I want to play it right now, actually. Just thinking about Legend of Zelda, it makes you want to play it.
Everybody wanted to save Zelda.
Coming up.
Oh, I love that game.
The Final 5 fight to be the top video game of all time.
It's insane how great that game was.
But first, Nintendo's Princess Zelda is named after which of these famous females? The answer after the break. Before the break, we asked, Nintendo's Princess Zelda is named after which of these famous females? The answer? The novelist Zelda Fitzgerald, wife of F. Scott Fitzgerald. Fitting snugly into our number 5 slot, that devious Russian brain teaser, Tetris.
People cannot forget the legendary Tetris.
Tetris I played a lot in college. That was my college game. I missed a lot of tests because of Tetris.
I had one of the original Game Boys. I played it constantly. It was very good.
Most obnoxious, getting stuck in your head music ever.
Yes.
Developed in the early 80s by a Russian programmer, it was Nintendo's Game Boy version released in 1989 that turned Tetris into a household name.
Tetris is absolutely the crack of video games. It's the most addictive video game of all time.
That was one of those games where I never wanted to own it because I just knew I'd be Jabba the Hutt size if I had Tetris.
Everybody at Broderman was playing Tetris. I stopped working on Prince of Persia for a couple of days just to try to beat everybody's high score.
It's not a great game to play if you have a little bit of obsessive-compulsive tendencies.
Tetris is a game that invades your waking and your sleeping hours.
You're trying to sleep at night, and you just see those little stupid shapes coming down again and again.
I closed my eyes and I would see things coming down and I'd be arranging them. And I knew it was time to stop.
stuff starts speeding up. It gets a little hot in my neck, you know, especially when you start building up and things don't start falling into place.
Oh, that's not where that was supposed to go. Now there's a space. Oh.
Pile it up, and then you drop the long one on the side.
You shove that post down in there, and 4 blink, blink, and they go away. Oh, so nice.
Once you get up in there and it starts making that like lamb noise, like, you remember that?
And to this day, I still think it is the most perfect handheld gaming experience.
They don't get much bigger than this one.
Oh, I love that game.
Coming in at number 4, Asteroids.
It's a great game. I remember playing it when I was, this big, in the arcade.
It was just very gratifying, just nailing the rocks, and then they'd split.
One of the most addicting games ever.
First released to arcades back in 1979, Asteroids was stunning in its simplicity and maddening in its difficulty.
Asteroids is a seemingly very simple game, but it just it gets more and more obscene, like the danger level.
You couldn't even play that game because all you see is the rocks coming at you. You have no idea what to do with those rocks.
Asteroids addicted gamers, made millions of dollars, and helped shape the games we play today. But the reason Asteroids is one of the top video games of all time is because it's a lot of fun to play.
Asteroids is a great example of core gameplay just by itself. It's amazing. Like today, our games have graphics and awesome like sound engines, just so much going on. But you could have so much fun with basically just a little triangle on a screen.
And now one of the most haunting, atmospheric, and memorable video games in history. Charging in at number 3, BioShock.
BioShock was, oh, holy crap. This is amazing.
BioShock is one of the scariest games I've ever played.
It's insane how great that game was.
Released in 2007, BioShock takes players to an underwater utopia that has gone horribly wrong. But the city of Rapture is more than just a setting.
I mean, the world of Rapture was the main character of that game. And everyone you met in that world, you never knew what to expect.
We wanted to say, okay, we want to set this in a place that feels totally believable on its own right. Even here, we thought of an underwater city. And we came up with the notion of this failed utopia. And all the utopian ideals, sort of the ideals of the city, are represented visually in the look, the Art Deco look. And then when you see the water coming in, the cracks and the water coming in on man's aspirations, you just have this great visual metaphor for the whole story of the game.
To survive in Rapture, a player must genetically evolve by injecting himself with plasmids that give superpowers.
I like that you could like accumulate all these different kind of powers and you could modify your body.
And he's jamming himself in the arm with this thing. And he's getting powers and shooting and killing people. I don't want it. It's the scariest video game ever.
But these cool powers come at a hefty moral price. To modify your character, you must harvest the biological resource Adam from mutated children called little sisters.
Each of these little girls is protected by a giant Big Daddy. And the Big Daddies are terrifying. I mean, with the Big Daddy and little sister, there's sort of this wandering boss battle that moves to the level. And you choose when you're going to engage them.
Morality, philosophy, and the ability to blast fire from your hands. BioShock is more than a video game. It's a work of art.
There's the whole argument about games as art, games as true storytelling. And BioShock is one of the games that is the testament for why they are art.
See you soon, Mr. Bubbles.
Coming up,
You were interactive in this world, and the graphics were amazing.
we've counted down 98 and only 2 remain.
It's pretty crazy fun.
What will be the top video game of all time?
I think it got to be everybody's favorite. If there's not their favorite, they're lying.
The answer when the top 100 video games of all time returns. And now the most celebrated entry in a legendary series. At number 2, it's the Super Nintendo masterpiece, The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past.
When the Super Nintendo came out and Zelda: A Link to the Past happened, it was awesome.
The first real adventure game for Super Nintendo, and you could see why people gravitate around it.
You were interactive in this world, and the graphics were amazing, and the story was awesome.
Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past was the first time I'd seen rain in a video game, and it blew my mind.
A Link to the Past introduced series staples like the Master Sword, multi-level dungeons, and heart pieces. But it stayed true to the original when it came to the hero, the villain, and the damsel in distress.
Zelda: Link to the Past. You're Zelda. This fine, fine woman. No, you're not Zelda, you're freaking Link. Okay, we're gonna try that again. So you start out, this fine young fellow named Link, all dressed in your green. You wake up in your bed, there's a little treasure chest there, and that becomes the beginning of your love for treasure chests that will eventually lead you to Zelda. There it is. Now you begin your journey.
A Link to the Past parallel worlds and unparalleled adventure have secured it a spot on everyone's list of top video games of all time.
It was the first game for me that made me have to jump and save my money and buy a Super Nintendo because I knew I had to own that game. It's incredible.
This is it. After counting down the 99 top video games of all time, we've finally reached the final boss. This game almost single-handedly saved the struggling video game industry while simultaneously turning millions of kids into gamers for life.
Dun, 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 dun.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yep, you guessed it. Coming in at number 1, Super Mario Brothers.
It's me, Mario.
I love Super Mario Brothers.
Super Mario Brothers, that's the best game ever.
Every little kid talk about Super Mario Bros.
Super Mario is the best all-time game.
Mario, who didn't play that game?
I played Mario Brothers night and day like it was my job.
I'm not saying I based my life on it or anything, but it mattered most while Super Mario Brothers.
This classic came bundled with most people's Nintendo Entertainment System, and for many it was the first console game they ever played.
This is the game that everybody had at their house. It was so fun, you could never stop playing.
Super Mario NES definitely got me into home systems, home console. I would sit in my room. I mean, I remember sitting in my room and not realizing it had gotten dark outside.
Players stayed glued to the game thanks to Super Mario Bros.' surreal mix of platforms, plumbers, and a princess.
Mario Brothers is basically like a quest on acid. It's pretty crazy fun.
I thought I was going to grow up to be a plumber because these guys were the coolest guys doing it and they were plumbers. So why not?
Every head of state knows what to do when the princess gets kidnapped. You call the plumber. Duh.
First of all, he's the worst plumber in the world. He probably has a backlog of jobs that are not being done because he's chasing this girl that he can never really have, you know?
So I like the game a lot because it was fun, but I also like it because I feel bad for Luigi.
They're called the Mario Brothers, so that means their last names are Mario. So it's Mario Mario and Luigi Mario?
He's just as good as Mario, just in a different outfit.
What's Luigi getting out of it? He's just helping out, like, his sister-in-law?
every time the castle gets like bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're like, this is the one, man. Peach is gonna be there, and I'm gonna like end this whole game right now. And then it's like ding ding ding, and it's like next level.
I think it was on level 4-1. You could take the turtle shell and you could bang it against between you and the wall.
You bounce up and down and up and down and up and down, just keep getting one-ups all day long, and then finish the game from there.
And I never beat Super Mario Brothers without learning that trick.
Nobody can beat Super Mario Brothers. A cultural icon with more than 40 million copies sold, it launched the most successful franchise in gaming history and earned its place as the top video game of all time.
It was one of those games that I think no matter who you were, gamer or not, you see it and you know exactly who it is. And there aren't very many games that do that, where it's such a pop culture phenomenon. So that's why I would say Super Mario is my number one.
I think it got to be everybody's favorite. If there's not their favorite, they're lying.
It's clear that video games are part of the fabric of modern life. From the classics to whatever comes next. Everyone plays.
Everyone plays.
Everyone plays.
Everyone plays.
Everyone.
Everyone.
Everyone. Everyone.
Everyone.
Everyone.
Everyone.
Everyone.
Everyone plays.
Who knows what the next 40 years of gaming innovation will hold? We can't wait to see which games rule the future.